Hey there, story lovers. Welcome to Wingman Joker, where every story comes to life. Dive into captivating tales that will thrill, inspire, and entertain. If you enjoy the journey, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to join the adventure. Chapter 351, Wrap Up. On the top floor of a luxurious hotel, a pool party was suddenly interrupted when a fat young man fell out of thin air right into the infinity pool, creating a huge splash that drowned many of those sitting around and nearly pushed some of them off the building's edge. Liam didn't care as he quickly stood up and checked his status. Name: Liam Ash Flint. Level: 0. Class: Lascivious Bard, S. Authority: 2. Strength: 21. Agility: 20. Intelligence: 24. Luck: 11. Charm: 12. Order: 10. Skills: Charm, S. Enchanting Scent, S. Corrupt Memories, A. Ultra Thick Skin, S. Unlimited Manhood, S. Enchanting Voice, E. Hooray, he yelled. He was now a full fucking player. It was time to go fuck that cousin of his. Wait, he paused. Could this mean that he owed an unpayable debt to that stupid emperor? Impossible. How can a mere man control a dungeon? Getting those attributes was a mere coincidence. He just needed to find 10 extremely fat girls and wait for the emperor to throw them at Vic and let him drown in their fat. Liam chuckled as he quickly started trying his skills, but stopped as suddenly there was a tap on his shoulder. Looking back, there was a macho man dressed in black latex and wearing a studded black collar. He was looking at Liam in a very strange way, as if he was about to eat him. "Ah, sorry," Liam said as he looked around and realized the situation he was in. He was surrounded by semi-naked macho men dressed in all kinds of strange feathery and latex fashion, some were in very ambiguous poses. He had just interrupted a gay pool party. Damn it, this didn't matter, as the most important thing was that the way those men were looking at him while licking their lips indicated that he might have accidentally used his skill on them right now. No, he definitely used it on them. How else would those men be looking at him as if he was a Prince Charming? Can his skills be stopped? Of course, they can, but their effect would not fade for another 10 minutes. No. Ellipsis. The three girls looked at the tribesmen that surrounded them in a challenging way, with spears pointing at them. "How dare you enter the sacred moon and attempt the trial?" the chief asked as more men surrounded the girls, entrapping them. "Where are the rest of the warriors?" he asked again. "As I told you, they are dead. The demons killed them." One of the girls took a deep breath and said, "This dungeon is all a trap." "Lies," the chief yelled. "Women cannot be trusted." "It is the truth," another girl said, remembering the emperor's mission and warning. "Now I have a letter for you from the emperor, the one who saved us," she said nervously as she extended her hand with a piece of paper. The chief didn't even try to take it, he just shot the girls a cold glare. Looking at the rest of the warriors, they nodded. "Take them to the breeding pit, see how long they survive," he said, turning his back to them, making the girl sigh. The emperor was right, those people were monsters who had been brainwashed following the demonic way. She should not have asked him for this letter. She glanced at her companions, who nodded. Then as the men approached them, they slowly took out the machine guns hidden in their new storage ring, aimed them at the frowning men, and then began the massacre. "For the emperor," they shouted as the smell of blood and bullets filled the air. That night, most of the men at a certain moon-worshipping tribe were killed by the women, technically ending the tribe. In its place, a new forbidden village was born. A village that had one mission: to train an army for the emperor and wait for the reckoning. Ellipsis. In a lake in the middle of nowhere, a girl suddenly appeared, falling straight into the water. Harper sighed. She couldn't believe that this really happened. Victor was telling the truth, he really made her a player. Name: Harper Wiseman. Level: 0. Class: Esper. Authority: 10. Strength: 36. Agility: 35. Intelligence: 39. Luck: 2. Charm: 24. Order: 10. Skills: Telekinesis, S. Charm, S. True Sight, S. Camouflage, S. Flight, A. Meditation, B. At last, she no longer had to be controlled by others. Now, she was not sure what to do. What if Victor was right? Damn it. She slowly headed toward the lake shore where she left her things before going for a bath a few weeks ago. They were there. She quickly took her phone and turned it on before slowly dialing her father's number. "Bitch, where are you?" his father asked immediately. "I am going to the heavenly sect," she said. "I have just become a player," she added immediately, making her father not know what to say as she hung up. Ellipsis. Victor sighed as the moon dungeon got empty. Poor Rain had no idea that Victor was the one orchestrating the entire thing behind the scenes, making the nearly impossible battle the players had to fight to defeat the demons 10 times easier by taking out the rabbits beforehand. Rain didn't even realize that the master demon was not killed by him, as that thing didn't need its body to survive and wanted to attack from the shadows, but Victor used the cauldron to refine its soul just at the right time, ending the battle and earning a ton of levels. Did you really have to sacrifice all those attributes for those players? Lily asked. Those guys will be working for me, us, from now on. I have to give them some benefits, he said as he looked at the remaining attributes that he got after distributing some to the 215 players who accepted to work for him. He got those attributes from the cauldron after making it consume all the demon bunnies and corpses of the dead. Although it only had 10% efficiency in extracting attributes, those were enough to collect a lot, as there were about 50 rabbits in addition to the dead players and hundreds of demon souls. Authority 912, Strength 147, Intelligence 121, Agility 177, Charm 121, Luck 111. Now I will give some attributes to the two of you, Victor said. The rest of the points I will keep for future use, he added as Lily and Lynn closed their eyes and began to feel the power in their bodies climb up. Strange, my luck only went up by 5. Lynn suddenly said, why not give me more? She asked. Her luck had always been abysmal. I gave you 50, Victor said with a frown. Was this cauldron broken? The same thing happened to him. He gave himself 10 luck points and only got 1. Luck works in strange ways, Lily interrupted. Usually it depends on people and has a hard limit where it will grow stronger after that. Oh, Lynn frowned and then nodded. So did Victor. Regardless, all that is left now is this blood, Lily said. Can we use it to grant people bloodlines? Lynn asked. It is not advisable. Without that blood moon jewel we can't really control which bloodline might transfer, and combining those might have adverse effects. Lily interrupted again. Did you really have to let the tattooed girl take it? Couldn't you replace it like you did with the shard Rain took? No, do you want me to mess with a lord? Victor glared at Lily. That girl was definitely sent here to get it. She even knew its location. I am not going to risk having another lord after our ass. Another. Lynn and Lily asked at the same time. We will talk about this later, he said as he transferred them outside of the cauldron, making them appear right where they left, on the edge of the pool inside of the gym. They now just had an extra cauldron at hand. So you're out at last, a girl suddenly said. It was Zoe who was waiting for him. Didn't you go home yet? It's 3 a.m, do you want a girl like me to go out this late? She asked as if she was offended by him mentioning such a thing. What do you want? He went directly to the point. This cousin of his seemed to have become a little cheeker ever since they got collaborated to take out that demon in the skeleton dungeon. You got some benefits inside, I want some. She asked directly. Don't tell anyone, he said, tapping Zoe's shoulder and transferring 10 more points of each attribute to her using the cauldron in his hands. How are you doing that? She asked in shock as she saw her attributes grow. She thought he got some weapons or artifacts. This artifact in my hand, it can be used to extract attributes and I used it on the demons before. Just be sure not to tell anyone unless you want me to die, he said as he continued to walk toward the villa as if telling her such a secret was a trivial thing. Come with me, I will let the girls prepare a good room for you to spend the night, he said as Lily and Lynn followed. Okay, she said as she quickly ran after him. By the way, did you see Alex? She suddenly asked. Didn't he exit too? Victor paused and checked the cauldron. It was empty. Strange, he sent Alex out the first thing after getting rid of the rabbits. And according to the world rules, when someone exits the negative space he should appear at the same point he left from. I didn't see him exit, Zoe said, making Victor frown, then close his eyes and connect with Alex. She was in the middle of the jungle fighting off a group of wolves while yelling for help. Did her bad luck activate, sending her to another location? Victor wondered as he checked his phone, using the location function to pinpoint the tracer he left in Alex's bag. He seemed to have something urgent to do. He should be back in a month or two, Victor said to Zoe as he resumed his way toward the mansion with a weird look on his face. Alex was not only far away, she was on an entirely different continent. Technically, she was on the opposite side of the planet. Did this have anything to do with her gender-swapping ring? Probably. Victor quickly decided that this was not his problem. As a dark scion, Alex needed her share of miserable adventures every once in a while so that she would be able to recognize how good he is to her. He will send someone to pick her up in a week or two. Ellipsis. Reaching the mansion, Victor slowly walked in. Victor. Someone suddenly shouted. It was none other than Monica, who couldn't sleep and was watching the moon on the balcony when she noticed his return. Why are you still awake at this hour? Victor asked as he hugged his wife, making Zoe, who was behind him, blush a little. The dragon rider is lonely without her dragon, he asked in a low voice. Shut up, she hit his chest bashfully as she blushed. I just couldn't sleep, she said as she buried her head in his chest. Something on your mind? He asked, brushing her hair with his fingers. We will talk in the morning, he said. Where are the girls? Asleep in your room, she said, blushing. The girls rarely used their rooms in the last couple of weeks. Oh, then I will have to go wake them up, he said with a depraved smile, turning to Lily. Lily, take Zoe to the guest's room, then come join us, give her the room with the large balcony. He told her before dragging the blushing Monica away toward his room. Not only his wives missed him, but he also missed them. Let's go, Lily told Zoe as she bit her cherry lip and watched him leave with his hand around Lynn's butt. Damn, pervert husband, just wait, sorry for bothering you, Zoe said while blushing, imagining what Victor will do with his wives. It's okay, Lily said. Sighing as she walked, she had long realized that Zoe was on Victor's dinner menu, too bad the girl had no idea she was getting cooked slowly. Chapter 352, Meet Again. It was already noon when Victor slowly opened his eyes and discovered a very disturbing fact. He couldn't move. His pretty wives, who seemed to have missed him too much, were surrounding him, with each insisting on being as close to him as possible. Some of them were hugging parts of his body, while the shameless Margaret was on top of him. He sighed as he slowly used his disguise skill, making them think he was still beside them as he slowly pushed them away, entangling himself before he stepped down from the bed. Looking back, he smiled at the girls' satisfied smiles. Last night was wild. The girls seemed to have used the time he was not here to train their techniques, and Lily and Lynn seemed to have stopped fighting with each other, and seemed to have tacitly agreed to give the other girls some more time. So naturally it was perfect. Poor Margaret, who preferred to be a lone wolf, had to go the extra mile to compete with them. Maybe he should dedicate some time to each of them alone. He licked his lips as he slowly headed to the bath, where he took a quick shower and then quietly left after getting dressed in a white suit. The girls deserve their rest. So you are awake at last, a cold voice startled him as soon as he reached the ground floor. Ellipsis. It was none other than Alpha. Yes, have you been waiting for me? Victor asked as he walked toward the dining room, surprising a few lowly maids who were doing house chores in the process. They hurried and bowed to him as they blushed. They had seen his photo before, but the real thing was 100 times hotter. I just wanted to give you a power progress report, she said as she watched him head toward the basement. Oh, okay, he said. Are those the girls you brought? He asked, pointing to the little maids. Yes, I think they are adjusting well here. Their bloodline has been upgraded, but now we need to find a way to make them players. We need an awakening artifact, she said. I will awaken them once they have had enough training as maids. I believe a League of Swords maids will be invincible, he said. Is that a class? Yes, it is a very balanced one. Now, why didn't you follow me into the dungeon? He asked, not elaborating on his plan for the girls. The gate didn't work, she replied coldly. He frowned, then shook his head. He needed to investigate this, but the Moon Dungeon was using an array to arrange its entry, and this array was in the abandoned dungeon that Rain and Tulip were exploring. Now was not the time to go there. Did you give Nightshade the massage I left for her? He asked. She is not here, I left her in the Shadow Village. She is tasked with gaining Nova and Jane's trust. Who is Jane? He frowned. Jane Armstrong, the journalist who was on the run from a psychiatric hospital after exposing the existence of players and no one believed her, Alpha said briefly. Oh, that one, so you gave Nightshade that mission. He frowned. Although I had another plan for her, regardless, it has to wait. No, maybe I can merge those. That would be interesting, he pondered to himself as he descended into the basement and headed to the rooster's room. What is interesting? Alpha asked. I will send you the details once I am sure of everything. This is going to be big, so just make sure the three girls become good pals, he said as he opened the door of the rooster's room and noticed that Alpha turned around, not planning to enter with him. Aren't you coming too? Victor asked. I don't want to meet that bastard again. The last time I went with the girls that thing started screaming and then spat on me, she said as she gushed her teeth. She wished to grill that rooster with garlic and then feed it to the dogs. Oh, wow, even Margaret didn't get that treatment, he said in surprise. Did it say why? He asked. Ah, I don't speak cockish, she said, shooting him a strange look. And I am not that shameless to act as if I do like that Margaret was doing. Oh, okay, wait for me in the study. Tell the little maids to prepare a meal for me and the girls on your way there. They need to replenish their energy after last night's play, he said as he entered the room ignoring Alpha's glares. She didn't need to know that last piece of information. Inside, the cock that was reading a porn magazine was nearly unrecognizable. Its feathers had become all shiny and he had a huge fluff of feathers on its head. It was as if it was ready to get married. It just looked up when it heard someone entering, then cocked when it realized it was Victor. Long time no see, Victor said. You look more handsome than the last time we met, he added as he tried hard not to laugh. Coo. The cock nodded to Victor, greeting him while also trying not to laugh, or that's how Victor felt. This is natural for guys like us. Victor finally said. Your summoning time is over, right? Victor asked. I thought you would rush home to bang some chicks with all the qualifications you got. Why are you still here, risking world tribulation? Victor asked as he sat beside the cage. Kukia koot, it said, glaring at Victor. Meaning that it wanted to tell him about something. What's so important that you had to delay your mating session to know? Victor asked. Quat. 3 things, Victor asked, frowning. The cock nodded. I also want to ask you one thing, Victor suddenly said. Ko-o, why did you spit on Alpha? Ka, the one with the strange eye. Kya kwa keku wak, the cock said. Just because she looked at you like that. KWA, the cock said. KWKWA I know, conservative values and such. Victor quickly regretted asking. When Alpha entered the room, the rooster was arranging its trophies, and her casual looks of disgust and killing intent must have turned it on. That's why he spat on her, calling her a filthy whore who tried to seduce an honest cock like himself. It is a good thing she didn't understand it. Quee. The cock nodded, appearing extra cool with the feathery fluff on its head. So what did you want to talk to me about? Victor asked. KWA kuit. I understand, the phoenix thing will be between us, not a soul will know. Victor nodded. The cock was obviously nervous about that phoenix they attacked. They will be more interested in Alex than you though. KWA, the cock nodded. KWA kitkwawa. Kwaka akwa, the cock said, making Victor surprised. The cock was warning him about the reckoning. So you already know that this world will be unlocked. Victor was surprised. Don't worry, I am preparing for that. KWWW, Kui Kawakawa Ku KIW, the cock said, warning Victor to be ready because the demons and the other races are already setting their eyes on this world and preparing their armies. I know, thanks for the warning, Victor said, feeling a little touched. By the way, can I summon you again? Victor suddenly asked. KWWWWW, the rooster shook its head. Kityu wak kyo tot WKOWWWWWWW ku KWWWW, kaka kiautok ki, it said, meaning something like that it will be entering mating mode soon. Its honorable chicken mother already found it a suitable mate from a respectable family. That chick girl was just very cocky, that's why the rooster accepted the summoning to come to this world in the first place. It was desperate for some good bloodlines to impress the bride. Now he can go show her who is the boss. Oh, Victor sounded a little disappointed. Your kind uses arranged marriages? He asked. Coo, the cock nodded. This was natural, they were a very traditional race. A chick can never approach a rooster without their parents' mutual approval. Ah, cool I guess, Victor could only say that. Kawa, the cock suddenly spat out a white feather that flew by itself and fell in Victor's hand. Kui, quat, kawa, it said, meaning that this can summon him, but he better not try it during the next 2 years. The cock will be busy. Oh, don't worry, Victor said. Thanks, man, KWA, Kawaii ku KKE, the rooster said goodbye, reminding Victor to bring him hot girls next time, and then began to slowly fade away until it disappeared. Victor smiled and shook his head, especially after noticing that all the magazines that were in the room were no longer to be found. He put the feather in his storage space, then turned to the empty basement, heading to the study where Alpha was not sitting alone. Elise, who had dark circles around her eyes, was accompanying her. Elise, why didn't you come to greet me last night? Victor asked innocently. I was asleep, she spat, looking away with a blush. Oh, I really missed you, he said with a smile. She didn't answer. She didn't even dare to look at him after what she saw him do with the girls. Stop bullying the girl, Alpha said. Lately, she was spending some time with Elise and the two seemed to be getting along well. Fine, did you review the files I left you? Victor asked. The plans are fine, but they will depend on who will be implementing them. She said. I don't think we have enough suitable personnel, she said. Most of Victor's manpower now consists of young girls in love. Sure, love can create miracles, but those girls' minds were already occupied by some very stupid thoughts that would get an R rating if they were to be published. I am still collecting, and we have time, he said just as Lily and Margaret entered the room. Their hair was still wet from the shower too, and they carried a tray full of sandwiches which they placed in the middle of the table. Though we will need those, Margaret said as she sat on her chair and raised her leg, revealing that she was not dressed properly. We do, Victor said. Did the others wake up? Only Zoe and Hannah. They are having a late breakfast together with the alphabet girls, the rest are too tired to move. Margaret said. Oh, don't the two of you need some extra sleep? He asked. We are fine, and there will be visitors tonight, so we need to finish with this. Margaret said. Visitors? Who? Victor asked. The same group who wanted to meet you for the last 2 weeks, Martha von Rosen, and your stupid maternal grandfather. How did they know I returned? I told them yesterday night while Arya was trying that shifting snake position with you. You did what? Lily asked angrily. Don't be angry, those two bribed me a week ago. They gave me some expensive gifts so that I would tell them when you returned before anyone else knew. Many people want to meet our husband, you know. Margaret said, and after consulting Elise we decided that as a bitch I have to play the part. She added as Elise nodded. You could have told them tomorrow, Lily said, pouting. No way, I have my credibility, and our dear husband is probably planning to go to the company tomorrow morning anyway. They would have discovered this sooner or later, she said as she finished one sandwich and then took another one. I am planning to go to the company? Victor asked in surprise. He had no idea. Yup, not if you are planning on missing the opening for Myra's new movie. You were the one who specified the opening date. Margaret said. Ah, I totally forgot. Victor nodded. He better not let Mira know. You did well, but next time inform me beforehand, at least give me a hint, he said. Next time, we will see about it next time. Margaret spat, making Victor realize that she was holding a grudge because he didn't take her with him into the dungeon. Okay, he could only sigh. I will take you next time, he said. Then now what? Alpha asked, feeling like an outsider between those lovebirds. Victor quickly took out a few files from his ring. They were the same files from the previous briefing but with some extra info. He placed them in front of Alpha so that she could take a look. Where did we stop last time? He asked. You were saying something about some very important sign and then left us hanging, Margaret explained as she grabbed a sandwich. She was famished after the action last night. Right, yes, it is about Caspian. Victor said, turning serious as he grabbed a sandwich, handing it to Lily, then grabbed one for himself. He also used a lot of energy last night. What's about him? Didn't you say you already had a plan for the heavenly sect? Lily asked, frowning as Alpha remembered that Elise briefed her about Victor's plan before. This matter also concerns you, Victor said to Lily as he swallowed. First of all, what do you know about lords? He asked the rest of the girls. Lords? Elise and Alpha asked with a frown. Lily, Victor said, tell them everything we know. Lily nodded. The lords are in a sense otherworldly kings who rule over secret domains. They are very strong, almost undefeatable, and highly respected and feared by all races. Even the demons seem to be extra wary of them. Lily said. They usually act through agents, keeping away from politics and working toward hidden agendas. Oh, and they like to collect strange treasures, paying great prices for them. She tried hard to remember. That's pretty much it. Yup, Victor nodded. Then we basically know nothing about them, Margaret said. Yup, then why are we discussing them? Margaret asked. Simply because there is one after Lily's ass. Victor finally said it. Chapter 353, Briefing 3. She has a pretty ass, Margaret commented, making Alpha unconsciously turn and look at Lily's ass. She quickly shook her head as Victor chuckled. What lord? Lily asked, feeling a little annoyed. The Fate Lord, the one behind the Fate sect. Victor said. How do you know? Lily asked directly, frowning a bit. She knew some things about that guy who likes to always send self-fulfilling prophecies with the help of his minions. Well, I am not 100% sure, he said. As I had to make a lot of educated guesses, but during the last month before the wedding, the fate sect seemed to have placed a misfortune curse on this entire city. Everyone with any degree of bad luck was struck really hard. Oh, Margaret opened her eyes wide. She did feel that her luck was pretty shitty lately. Why would they do that? It was as if they were searching for some anomaly or someone to surface, he said. You mean Lily? Alpha asked. Why? It has to do with her fate. Lily here has an SSS-ranked fate to rule the world. Victor suddenly said, hiding the fact that Lily's fate will probably become X-rank later. What? All asked at the same time in shock, including Lily, who opened her mouth wide. It is as I am telling you, Victor said, but was interrupted. You mean, one day Lily will be an empress or something like that? Margaret asked as she looked at Victor and then at Lily. There is a 99% chance, you better start licking. Victor but was interrupted. Then why the fuck are we here? Margaret asked. We just need to wait for Her Highness to achieve her fate. She said, feeling a little jealous. As if she lost some beauty pageant before it even started because the other contestants slept with all the 70-year-old judges. Logically, she was not trying to compete with anyone for Victor, she knew her place. But Lily was so damn overpowered that she had to feel a little sour. Simple because fate is not absolute. In the old timeline, Lily died long before she could achieve her fate. Victor said, looking at Alpha, who should have been told by Elise about the fact that they are all here as time travelers. Alpha just frowned. It was clear from the disdainful look in her eyes that she didn't buy any of this. Never mind that, she will get it in time. Even if Lily lived, she might become a puppet empress or only stay on the throne for a few hours. Victor explained. Get to the point, Lily finally said, shooting him a very dangerous glare. Well, with that kind of fate, Lily was supposed to be a scion, but after she was born her fate power was suppressed by her family, then she was sent to survive in the world alone in an attempt to strengthen that fate. Victor said as Lily, who already witnessed this firsthand, nodded. Holy shit, she is a Von Krona. Alpha asked in shock. She almost stood up. Elise forgot to tell her this. Yup, and her uncle is the patriarch. Victor said, we will talk about that later, sit down for now. Fine, Alpha spat as she sat while giving Lily some very dangerous glares. She always hated Lily for her stupid unreasonable devotion to Victor, and now she had a second reason. The Von Krona left her family when they most needed help, choosing to go into hiding. Relax, the past is the past. And we still don't know the whole truth of what happened back then, Victor scolded. Now, the fate sect seems to already know that there is someone destined to rule the world, but they couldn't tell who. If my guess is correct, this was possibly because of the interference created when Lily's fate power was restricted by her family. He said as Lily, who was the only one in the room who fully understood him, nodded as her mind began to turn. No, they failed to locate her because her skill interfered with the timeline. Her trip created too many echoes as her fate was connected to Victor's. Why are they after me? Lily finally asked. Does me being destined to rule the world hurt their plan? Yup, the Fate Lord seemed to have used his power to already choose a world leader. Who? Margaret was the one who asked, beating Lily to it. Caspian. The Fate Lord was probably also the one who made him a scion. Victor said. Oh, Lily frowned. So it was him. That's why you didn't kill him in the wedding as you were planning to, she said, realizing some things. Yup, if my guess is correct, Caspian's fate is not stable, and the Fate Lord doesn't know why. That's why they are investigating every fate anomaly, and by changing the timeline, we have created plenty around Vane City lately. Did they send anyone? Elise asked, squinting her eyes. Yes, at the wedding, there was that woman, Mirage. She is from the Fate sect and was scanning everyone's fate at the venue. Victor shrugged. Thankfully Lily took my place, and as I have been scanned before, she was skipped. Oh, Margaret nodded. So, are they off Lily's ass now? She asked. Temporarily, at the wedding, I made Mirage follow a false trail using the priest, and when I left after that I scammed her to think that the anomalies around Vane City were being created as a diversion by the real imaginary emperor, so I guess we are safe for now, but we need to act more casually from now on, Victor explained, pinching Lily's hand under the table. The moment Lily here gets back to her family and regains her true fate power, Caspian's fate will collapse. And they will not be able to do anything, their enemy will be someone else. Oh, Elise frowned and then nodded with the others. So that's the hot potato you ran away with back then? Margaret exclaimed as Lily on the other hand sighed in relief, feeling grateful that Victor was holding her hand under the table. He was really looking after her all this time, or she would have died long ago without knowing how and why. Who did you put the blame on? Lily asked. A secret organization called Dark Chamber. Their agent was at the wedding too, so I thought it would be convenient. Victor explained, making Lily open her eyes wide and then nod. What is Dark Chamber? Elise asked. A secret organization. Lily was the one who replied. Their goals are unknown, but they use the tactics of implanting agents in other powers then taking control of them. Are they after you? She asked Victor. I already took 3 of their men, 2 of them were high-ranking agents. So I guess they are suspecting me, he said. Wow, so what do we do about those? Margaret asked, feeling strange as she discovered that she was already in the middle of a grand battle for supremacy without realizing it. We can't do a thing, so for now we just play dumb, appearing weak as we absorb everything they throw at us. Victor shrugged. The way they work is that they communicate with their agents using those mirrors, so even if one agent was caught, he would have no idea who his boss is. They are really good at cutting their tails and running away, Victor explained. Lily nodded. Even her imperial father, despite eliminating many of their agents and pushing them into a corner, failed to locate where their real base was. So that organization remained shrouded in darkness until Victor returned. So for now, we will just find ways to collect info about their agents and try to figure out their goal. Victor said to Alpha. They might have some info about what happened to your family back then, he added, making her nod. Now, since we reached this point, let's talk about the world's other hidden forces. Victor said, taking another group of folders. Hidden forces? Margaret asked. Yes, like the Fate Sect and Dark Chamber, there are plenty of those around. I don't have a lot of data on them though, they are hidden for a reason. Victor said, placing the first folder in front of him. First is the Von Krona. Lily's original family. We didn't talk about them earlier. He said, turning to Lily to do this briefing. The Von Krona is right now the strongest family. Lily started talking. 20 years ago there was a great disturbance in the world when the former officially greatest family, the Von Richter, was eradicated overnight after the Von Sway fabricated evidence against them with the Von Rosen. The Von Krona, who were the second strongest, found threads of an internal plan to destroy them, so they decided to withdraw willingly, seemingly giving up all of their wealth and influence. She said, glancing at Alpha, who just nodded. They knew about the reckoning? Elise asked. Yes, 100 years ago there was a prophecy about the world's destruction. Many chose to ignore it, but others didn't, she said. The Von Krona was a part of the first camp until they found some evidence of the weakening of the world's will in some dungeons. Feeling the upcoming storm, they chose to back off, conserving their forces while starting to make connections with the other hidden forces who believed in the prophecy a long time ago and were preparing. Oh, Margaret was interested. Then, what about you? She asked. As Victor explained before, the Von Krona has a way to boost their heirs' fate, to produce scions if possible, Lily said. You mean all your heirs are scions? Elise asked. Of course not. They can only boost someone's fate by 1 degree. Lily explained. The method is to lock the heir's fate, then send them to the world to suffer until they are an adult, when they would be taken back and given back their true fate, pushing it to a new height. It is like training with weights, Victor explained. Oh, Margaret nodded. Most of the family has an A or B rank fate, only a few of them are scions, Lily explained. Sometimes being a scion is not a good thing, as with great power comes great responsibility. She added, as we said before, the Von Krona are destined to rule the world after reckoning. The power they have amassed is not something that any force can face. Victor said, so our strategy toward them? Elise asked. We will let them be. They might be the elevator we need to put Lily on the throne, Victor said, looking at Lily. They will probably take Lily back by the end of the year, he added, making the girls, especially Margaret, look at Lily with a frown. You don't plan to tell them that she is your wife? Elise asked. You are going to get separated? She asked. Will depend on the circumstances, but we need to do whatever needs to be done to save our powers. Lily was the one who answered, fully aware of Victor's thoughts. If they knew that she was Victor's wife, they might want to kill him. She was their trump card after all, and they wouldn't want her connected to some lousy young master. Still, her uncle might try to get rid of her if she was too powerful, so her marriage to Victor might be a useful thing if used correctly. Oh, Margaret nodded, feeling somewhat sad yet relieved that Lily was leaving. She was totally unaware that Lily was holding half of Victor's soul in the necklace around her neck and that Victor held her mark on his soul. Next is the Von Richter. Victor said, looking at Alpha. Do you want to do the explanation? He asked. Nope, she said directly. Okay then. Victor sighed. Alpha was still resisting him, he needed to find a way to tame her once and for all. Maybe some dangerous adventure. Possible. Wasn't the Von Richter destroyed? Elise asked, breaking the awkward atmosphere. Yes, but they left a seed. Before their destruction, they collected the best of their heirs and then gave them all the memories of their family before scattering them around the world. Victor said. Alpha here is one of them, and so is Hannah. What? Elise asked, looking at Alpha in surprise. In the other timeline, their plan failed. I believe all of their riches went to Sebastian. He has the fate of collecting the Von Richter treasures. Victor shook his head, ignoring Alpha's glares as he spoke. He was getting tired of her. Should he spank her? Wait, what? Alpha suddenly stood up again, interrupting him. She was not an idiot. With everything she knew until now, she finally realized why Victor always tried to get her away from Sebastian and why he acted like an ass at the spider dungeon back then. Although she didn't want to believe that Victor was from the future or could see fates. His actions could all be explained by those facts. He was fucking stealing Sebastian's fates, including her and Hannah. You believe me now? Victor asked. She just glared at him, not knowing what to think. Don't give me that look. You and Hannah were destined to be a plaything, at least with me. You are free to go around and build an army to seek revenge, he said, exposing her thoughts. She sat down and looked away. She needed time to digest this. What is the plan for the Von Richter? Elise asked, feeling the tense atmosphere. Leave them to Alpha and Hannah, as long as they swear fealty to the Empress. We will let that family survive and rebuild itself. Victor said, making Alpha shake a little. His words also meant that if they were to stand against Lily, he would kill every last one of them. Good, Elise nodded. Next is the demons, Victor said. Those vermin are two types. The first is the ones who are trying to invade this world from the outside using promises and persuasion. The second is the ones who already exist in this world, hiding in their bastions and biding their time as they also slowly try to take possession of some agents. You girls heard Yin's tale about what happened to her family, right? The girls nodded. Are you going to make Yin fight those? Alpha asked, finally turning to face Victor. She felt sorry for Yin. She wanted the girl to be happy after what happened to her. Not in the next 5 years. The girl is thirsty for revenge, but she deserves a childhood. Victor said, making Alpha sigh in relief. The plan, for now, is to keep off their radar, destroy if discovered, and maybe explain their existence to the other forces if possible, Victor said directly. Oh, Alpha nodded. Monica was invited to a cruise trip lately. I believe it is a demon's trap to attract many VIPs and possess them. You plan to go there? Lily asked. I considered it. The girls need to go on a honeymoon after all, but with the recent events, I decided to leave this to others. I already gave Tulip some info about them. With that girl's hatred of demons, she would do it herself. Oh, true, the cruise is near the Sunken Empire's gate, Lily nodded. But wouldn't we be missing some info? Then send someone to keep watch. Victor told Alpha, who sighed and then nodded. Ah, who is Tulip and what is the Sunken Empire? Margaret asked. She felt as if she was catching up on a show at the last episode. Tulip is Lily's sister. Her mother belonged to this hidden force called the Sunken Empire, which used a great artifact to build a giant city under the sea. Victor said. They are a part of a group of hidden kingdoms and empires who hide using such methods. I am not really sure about most of them. They usually have some very old heritage and have some very powerful bloodlines. They are usually slightly weaker than one of the oligarchs. Our strategy for them is to try to recruit some of their men, and maybe try to infiltrate them to use them for our cause. What cause? Margaret asked. World domination, Victor answered shamelessly. Noted, Elise nodded. Now the last force I need to talk to you about is the Free Players Association, the FPA. I heard about those. They are a new thing. They began their operation 10 years ago, collecting rogue players from around the world, Alpha said. The Player Council is turning a blind eye because they are keeping those players in check. Yes, Victor nodded. And they are going to get bigger and bigger in the next 5 years after they discover an awakening artifact. Victor said. The Player Council will try to eliminate them but fail after they threaten to reveal the truth to the world. There were simply too many of them at that point. You want to eliminate them beforehand? Elise asked, feeling that such a move would be a little evil, especially after knowing about the reckoning. Although they are annoying and have a thing against noble families, eliminating them is an irresponsible act for all humanity. I plan to confront them by 2 methods. The first is to fill their ranks with my agents, and the second is to make Theta and the Alphabet Girls build a competing organization called the Player Guild. He said, it would be a shame to leave all of those players to be eaten by one force. That might work, but you need an awakening artifact, right? Alpha asked. Those players will want to awaken family members and such. There will be a chance to get such an artifact in a few months. It is a very low-ranking one, but it would provide good publicity as it would be a good chance for the girls to announce the establishment of the organization at the same time. Victor said, "We will talk about this later. Now look at the documents and see if you have any questions," Victor said as he gave the girls all his files. Organizations to be established. Golden Dragon, Margaret and Arya, a merchant guild that will control the world's finances. Semi-secret to private, Fragrant Shadow, Alpha and Camellia, generally an information network, spy and secret ops capabilities. Secret, Purple Crow, Lily Yin, Assassin Girls. Assassins organization with a secret mission to eliminate demons. Semi-secret, The Master's Fist, ? An underworld conglomerate of criminal gangs. Semi-secret, Free Players Guild, Theta and her sisters, an opposite to the Free Players Association. Public, Bright Shadow, Mira and Monica, a conglomerate to manage different media entities. Semi-secret, The Nutcracker's Cult, The Nutcracker, ? For the Nutcracker. Top secret, The Emperor's Army, Vic, Lily and Lynn, an army to face the demons when the reckoning comes. Secret, The Throne Knights, ? Protect me and my harem in the future. Secret, The Shadow Root, ? Top secret, The Sweeping Shadow, The Twins, Hilda Maybe, an organization to train trusted maids and staff. Private, Families and Powers, Power, Plan, Von Geldstadt, use the Victory Merchants Guild to absorb. Von Sway, use right to steal the awakening artifact then plant a bomb in the main family and try to take out the top echelons. Von Weiss, use Mike, Rita and the Von Geldstadt formal spy network to control them from the shadows. Use them as a cover. Von Rosen, give them the rust blood and wait. Von Astrom, ignore and keep watching. Von Krona, play along. Von Richter, absorb their powers. Ice Sect, ignore, keep in touch with Windy then control them. Sword Sect, ignore, and get the girl. Heavenly Sect, disturb them for now, wait for the right time to control. Other sects, weaken and infiltrate, mortal countries and royal families. Infiltrate and control from the shadows. Minor player families, control, raid or neutralize, depending on allegiance. 10 Flint families, find a weak heir and give him support. Free Players Association, infiltrate, try to control. The Dark Chamber, more info needed, eliminate or take advantage of. Demonic organizations and cults, more info needed, eliminate at all costs. Sunken Empire, wait and try to weaken. Ring Empire, wait and try to weaken. Sky Tree Empire, wait and try to weaken. Other hidden forces, ignore until info is available. Other hidden sects, wait until info is available. Lords affiliated sects including the Fate Sect. Hide, play along or scam. Scions and S-rank Fate holders. Name, Danger, Relationship, Plan, Tom, 1/10, Slave, already under control. Alex, 6/10, Slave, find a way to reverse fate, then add to Harem. Sebastian, 8/10, Hostile, find a way to get rid of him and take his legacy. Oliver, 4/10, Hostile, no idea, wait and see. Rain, 9/10, Neutral, get rid of, leave him to Lily. Tulip, 8/10, Neutrals, a bitch, keep watching, under control. Ray, 2/10, Target, find a way to scam her to my side. Zoe, 1/10, Friend, find a way to steal her heart. Caspian, 9/10, Hostile, a demon in disguise. Find a way to influence his demise. Malcolm, ? Love me, who the fuck is this guy? Poe, 3/10, Slave, keep an eye on him for now. Julian, 1/10, Friend, brother-in-law, try to befriend him. Nova, 5/10, ? Use her in the Heavenly Sect Rumble, the Young Light Lord, 10 out of 10, ! Kill kill kill, Liam, 1/10, Slave, let him control the Ash Flint family before making him pay. Harper, 2/10, Waifu, include in the Heavenly SSCT Rumble. Jerry, ? Question mark. Unsure about identity. Iliad Queen. Question mark. Question mark. Sounds important. Wait, who is Malcolm? Lily suddenly asked as she read the last file. I have no idea, Victor said, but I may have affected his love fate. Oh, I think we need to call Nora. I might just know who this one is. Lily said with a strange look on her face. Chapter 354, Malcolm who? As Lily went out to speak with Nora who was running the assassin's base to ask her about a certain Malcolm, Victor kept frowning, something was bothering him and he couldn't put his finger on it. Wait, you just said that Caspian is being supported by the Fate Lord or something, Margaret said. Yup, Victor nodded. You told us earlier that he was a demon, she added. Yup, Victor nodded again. Doesn't that Fate Lord know? Margaret asked, raising one eyebrow, as Alpha and Elise looked at Victor. I am not sure, but probably not. Caspian is hiding his demon identity pretty well, so I guess the Fate Lord has no idea. Couldn't you have just exposed him at the wedding then? No, you made Alex comment on that, what are you after? Margaret asked. I just did that to make Caspian lose his cool. The Fate Lord will not easily believe us, and you saw Caspian's reaction. I am sure he will keep a low profile for a few months after this, enough time for me to make a move. Oh, now, I must tell you something very important. Victor suddenly said, it is about the Dark Chamber. Victor said, if my guess is correct, they are planning to replace me with a double. He said, what? Margaret asked. A double, like an evil twin? Yes. They will find someone give him plastic surgery or something to look just like me, then they will try to make him a player and train him a little before making him take my place. I eavesdropped on their agent at the wedding, he was discussing this with his bosses through that artifact mirror. He said, in his past life this happened in the von Geldstadt family where the agent who took the place of one of Charlotte's brothers was discovered after 7 years when he made a mistake after losing the battle to be the next patriarch. That's why Victor believed that's the way they would deal with him. He was in a perfect position to be replaced now. That's the way he would have done it if he was in their place. What should we do if that happened? Alpha asked. Nothing. When the change happens, that guy might claim amnesia or appear at a hospital after some accident happens to me, Victor said. You just play along. It would be a good chance for you girls to experience scamming people. Where would you be at that time? Elise asked. He already mentioned this in the wedding, intriguing her curiosity. Playing dead of course. But don't worry, if I am fine I will communicate with you through our connection, Victor shrugged, not explaining to Alpha. I was planning on making Alex or Lynn become my double anyway so that I would be able to move stealthily. I need to go to Heavenly Sent to oversee things there myself. Caspian must be taken care of ASAP, he said. He also needs to go collect some Imperial debts and convince some people to join the Nutcracker cult. He couldn't do that while everyone was spying on his every move. Do you happen to know their timeline? Alpha asked. No idea, but if they have just started, it will take at least a few months to get someone ready, and they will probably wait until after the tournament. As an elite heir I will have to show up, and that guy might not be able to imitate me perfectly at that time. Victor shrugged. After that, we can use him to expose many of the Dark Chamber agents in the Von Weiss family by creating troubles around the double to force them to help him fix it. Playing a little with him is not bad at all. He will be in the light and we are in the shadows after all. Oh, are you going to let him play with your girls then, with your wives? Alpha asked coldly, very coldly. She was worried about her sisters. Of course not. I already taught the girls to be careful if I start acting funny, Victor smiled. There will be different plans depending on that guy's actions, and I already prepared some plans and schemes, Victor said, taking a pink notebook and giving it to Margaret. He had a lot of spare time while training Harper, so he wrote it then. I will be responsible for him. She asked in surprise as she flipped through the notebook. You are the one I trust most not to be scammed by stinky men, and I will need you to run the company with Arya, so you can't really go hide or travel on some mission to avoid him. He said, basically, if he dares to try anything funny, we will just make him lose his ability as a man. Victor said coldly, making Margaret chuckle as she began to read his plan. Those are so mean, she said in surprise. You will have no good reputation left if I did any of those, even your father might disown you. He won't, those are nothing compared to what he did when he was young, Victor said, making Alpha and Elise very curious just as Lily returned to the room with a very dark look on her face. What? Victor asked, looking at her. He had to confess, Lily looked very cute even when her face was as gloomy as it was at the moment. He should make a compilation photo album of her expressions. We have a problem, a huge problem, Lily said as she locked her pretty eyebrows and made the girls look at her. What is today's date? She asked. Friday the 5th, Margaret replied, raising her head from the depraved notebook. Exactly, I felt strange when you told Victor that today is the date for the movie opening that should have happened yesterday. She said, looking at Victor. I noticed that, but it might have been just a time dilation created by the moon dungeon and traveling in the negative space, Victor said, not really sure, but dungeons, time dilation are not unheard of. It is not, Lily said as she grabbed the remote control from the desk then turned on the study's hidden 82 inches TV panel, turning to the news. Quote. According to the sources, the gas leak must have happened late last night, at exactly 12 am, the entire city of Windrev was affected. We are affirming the dead. More than 700,000 people peacefully died in their sleep. The government agencies are still examining the location for poisonous gases, but it was most likely a CO2 eruption from the nearby lake where a huge cave appeared out of nowhere. Quote. Yes, not only that, John, many people died on their beds at the same time yesterday. Some people think it was aliens. Some say it is a virus or a timed biological weapon. We will go to the experts in the. Now we will return to the case of Gloria Flick who was caught trespassing. Do we have a new Jane Armstrong? What is this about? Alpha asked, feeling very strange. Last night many people died in their sleep without any symptoms all over the world. This phenomenon was most prominent in Windrev City where everyone ended up dead, Lily said, making the girls frown. And, Victor who had no idea what this all meant said, realizing Lily knew something. Well, if my guess is correct, something happened yesterday, something that everyone forgot. Lily said, you can say that yesterday was Friday the 5th. She said, making the girls look at her with raised eyebrows. Have you seen something like this before? Victor asked. Yes, it was in the other timeline. I just want to make sure of something first. When exactly did you send Alex out of the dungeon? It was at about 11 p.m., 11:21 p.m. to be exact. I killed all the rabbits and didn't want her to create trouble so I kicked her out. Victor said, you mean this has something to do with the reason she was teleported to the other side of the planet? The second thing I want to make sure of is the shard you got in the dungeon. Its command should be to disable all artifact effects, she asked. Exactly, Victor nodded as if he began to understand something. Something big happened and we were shielded? He asked. Yes, this happened 3 times before in your other timeline, Lily told Victor as the girls listened. It is when an entire day repeats as if the world forgot something happened, even the planet's location returns to its previous place as it forgot where it was. The only thing that can't be returned are the lives of the dead. So their bodies return to where they were, but without souls, so everyone who died the day prior ended up dead in their beds when the rewind happened, she said. Time rewind? Elise asked. No, a time rewind will revive the dead. It is as if the world forgets about a day, even its position will return to its state the previous day. This might have been the reason Alex was flung to another continent. She must have entered the world as the rewind was happening. Lily explained. That's what I call bad luck, Margaret commented, making Elise nod. When I was in the other timeline, I was not affected at all so I could observe this phenomenon, Lily said, ignoring Margaret. The first time I didn't know what happened at all and I thought it was some strange world phenomena. The next 2 times it was accompanied by many people dying and some very important people disappearing. I tried to find the culprit, but I couldn't. All evidence is always erased the next day. People seem to have forgotten about the disappeared. Quote, then Windrev City. Yes, everyone on it died yesterday. Lily said, and it just happened that Malcolm was on a mission there. He should have been. She was not sure. The last time she had a look on the Assassins Organization's logbook was before the wedding. Explain, was he found dead on his bed? No, that's the problem. No one remembers who Malcolm is. Lily said. What? Margaret asked. No one in the base remembers who Malcolm is. It is as if they have never heard of him. Even his name no longer exists in the files. It was as if he was completely forgotten. She said. Tonight, yesterday, I remember that there should have been an operation at Windrev City, but it no longer exists. Malcolm was the best candidate for such a mission, she added. What was the mission? Victor asked. As far as I remember, it was to infiltrate the building there and investigate some guy's love affair, Lily said. We thought such missions were good for the new cadets. The company disappeared too, Victor asked. No, but their lab in Windrev City no longer exists, not even on files. That cave in the news should be the location of the building, but I am not 100% sure. What is that company's name and who is behind it? Victor asked. It's a new startup, its name is Space Troll Tech. I don't know who is behind it, Lily said. Victor frowned and sent a message to Kai asking about it. The response returned almost immediately. It is a dungeon tech research company created by Helen Seedflint, the heiress of the Seedflint family. Officially it is a space tech company with a base in the capital and many labs around the world. Victor said as he read the files Kai sent him. Apparently, the Seedflint acquired the rights to a newly discovered dungeon and had been excavating it for the last year or so, he said with a frown. The Seedflint family became one of the most influential families after the Reckoning, gaining a lot of trust from the Von Krona. In fact, one of the concubines that was chosen for Julian before his reputation was ruined was from that family. Now that he thought about it, the Seedflint family was very lucky. It was as if they were always at the right place at the right time. Did this exact incident happen in the other timeline? He asked Lily, who was thinking about the same things as he did. He couldn't really remember hearing it in the news. No, the incidents that I experienced didn't include major deaths in one city. They are only people who were supposed to have died on that day dying in their beds all over the world, Lily said. That's why I couldn't find anything. So, whatever happened this time was probably because of us changing something, and it is most likely Malcolm, Victor said. Lily nodded. I believe they must have found some kind of an X-ranked artifact. That's the only rank of artifacts that can have a global effect like this, but why did all the people die in Windrev City? She wondered. Activating an X-ranked artifact usually takes a lot of energy, and it must have failed in the other timeline, Victor analyzed. Something must have gone wrong, he frowned. Do you want me to send the girl after this? Alpha asked. Yes. Just be careful not to reveal a thing, and notify me immediately if you find something. Victor said as he took a shard and handed it to her. This shard has the effect of disabling artifacts' effects. I want you to place it in your base. Wouldn't you want it here to protect yourself? Alice frowned and asked. No, the information database that you are compiling is more important. If this incident happened again, with all the data you are collecting we might be able to pinpoint the artifact location. Victor said he was sure that this artifact will not affect him anyway, his authority would surely protect him. Fine, Alpha nodded as she took the shard. Now, I guess we'll just forget about Malcolm for now, he said looking at Lily. That guy is surely to seek you though. I believe he has a love fate against you or one of the assassin girls. It is definitely for me, Lily said. She noticed the way he looked at her in the base, but as he was still a child she was planning to delay his castration until he had his first time. Don't worry, my heart is already taken, she said with a smile. How old is Malcolm exactly? Margaret suddenly asked. He should be around 14 or 15, he is an orphan and doesn't have a record. Lily said. Then I am sure that he is not after your heart. That's the part teenage boys care about the least, Margaret stated, earning herself a glare from everyone. What? I am just stating facts. She said, and she was right. Chapter 355, O Winged One. We greet the young master. The little maids shouted at the same time, bowing as Victor made his way between their two arranged lines to the dining room while the girls, who couldn't help it, started to sneak peek at their young master's handsome face. He was too damn hot. Better than the photos. He was like a movie star. You may get up, Victor said when he reached the table and took his seat joining his wives who were waiting for him. He was trying really hard and failing miserably in appearing majestic and hiding the depraved smile that naturally appeared on his face. If not for Lily shooting him some very dangerous glares and keeping him at his edge, he would have long begun to drool. He couldn't be blamed though. Another one of his dreams just came true. Those girls were all originally chosen to be reaped by Caspian, so they were naturally of the best quality and would become very pretty when they grow up. He was planning to raise them well. Young master, I hope you are satisfied, Hilda said with an ambiguous smile as she watched how his expression changed repeatedly. While you were away, per your command, I started training those girls to be the maids to take care of this mansion. They are very hard working. She said professionally while silently cursing at all men for being perverts. Yes, not bad, Victor said then relaxed in his seat, carefully inspecting the shy girls. What are your names? He asked. Young master, I took the liberty to give the girls code names instead of their old ones. Hilda said. I think this is better for the future, she said. Oh, the girls' names are coded using a season and a color, she said. The first one is called Blue Summer, the next is Red Summer. Why are all of them last named Summer? Lynn asked. Obviously because they came in summer, The ones who will join later will get the other seasons, Margaret said, earning herself a usual glare from Lily, who didn't keep the bright smile that appeared on Victor's face. The seasons are the divisions. The ones who are mainly responsible for the mansion are surnamed Summer, while the others have the other seasons, Hilda said professionally, pointing to some other girls who were standing behind her. Their uniforms were a little different. Hilda had no idea that she had just disappointed the young master, who swiftly decided to skip the raise he was going to give her by the end of the month. Wait, was he paying her a salary to begin with? He had no idea. She was the one who handled the mansion's finances. Good names, Lily nodded, pinching the absent-minded Victor under the table. Yes, he nodded, making the girls blush. I am looking forward to your service, he added, flashing them a bright smile, imitating the way Tom and Rain did it. The girls blushed as they looked down shyly. Alert, Skill added, captivating smile, oh, he got the skill just like that. Was his smile that effective? Yup, from the dreamy expression on the little maids' faces, he could confirm that. His charm must have been the reason. This skill will be fun to work with. He might need to raise its level if he wanted to use it on players though. Let's eat, Lily sighed and said as Victor began to chuckle absent-mindedly again. He was beyond redemption. The little maids quickly nodded and then proceeded to professionally arrange the dishes on the table and bring food from the kitchen. There were a lot of famished girls around the tables and this needed a lot of work. Hilda trained them well. Are you ready for today's event? Victor, who finally returned to Earth, turned and asked Mira after taking a few bites. Hopefully, the critics will like it, she said nervously, making Victor frown for a moment. The critics had all seen the movie yesterday, but no one remembers. They will like it. It is not their choice. My Mira here is too cute for someone to hate. If anything goes wrong, I will just have to let them hear one of the voices you make in bed. I am sure they will fall for you immediately. Victor said, making her blush and bite her lip as she looked down as the rest of the wives chucked. What a bully. This movie is not that important, so relax, he finally added. This movie started shooting before he came here. It was the one which he visited on set today at the Misty Mountain. Victor made sure to contact the director Silverberg and make some adjustments when they were there, things that he knew the critics would hate, hopefully this time. It will be better than the one in his past life. What we need to focus on is the next one. Did the shooting for its end? Victor asked. Yes, before the wedding, Mr. Silverberg contacted me 2 days ago saying that he needs to do some reshoots, maybe in a week or so. Oh, good, it is important to show it in cinemas by the end of the year. Victor said, that movie is important because it will introduce the concept of a player to the world. He needed the people to be ready just in case his messing around triggered an early reckoning. He was not sure of what caused it back then yet. Can we go too? Theta, who was sitting slickly eating her meal with the rest of the alphabet sisters, asked. She was feeling a little abandoned after Victor spent last night with his wives. Yes, why not? Victor said with a smile. The cinema we are going to has a dedicated VIP balcony. If you don't mind it being a little crowded, you can come, though I plan to make Hilda project the film here too. No, I prefer to watch it with you, Theta said, making both Alpha and Lily sigh. The girl was beyond redemption. Truth be told, Lily has long abandoned her unrealistic dream of keeping Victor to herself. Especially after she watched him scam all those girls at the Moon Dungeon. It made her realize that even if she managed to get him into some abandoned island with her alone, he would manage to find some fish who would turn into a mermaid for him to fuck. That bastard was sharing her fate. After all, she had long realized that. Her second plan was to make him only think about her by conquering him in bed. Yeah. That went well. She didn't remember how her plan went wrong that night. She only remembers herself begging for mercy before riding his train to heaven. She quickly shook her head. Damn him and that catchy song. Her third plan was to castrate him. It was direct and swift, but sadly she couldn't do it, not after that first night with him. She became addicted to him. And even if she could overpower her own desires, she was not sure her sword was solid enough to cut that thing. That dragon bloodline of his was not to be trifled with. Regardless, now her fourth plan was something entirely else. She decided to let him go free and fuck every tree in the world without care. She knew that he would return to her by the end of the day. She had his soul and he had hers after all. So she was 100% about that plan though. More like 98.24%. The 1.76% represented both Margaret and Victor's wife from the other timeline. Lily knows that she must get to that bitch and make her obedient before Victor gets to her. that way she will be 100% sure to keep his place as the main wife. Too bad she had no idea about that girl's location or identity. Damn it, she needed to find some artifact just in case something went wrong. There was a legend about a sword that can cut anything, she needed to get it, just in case. Ellipsis. As soon as Victor, who was totally oblivious about Lily's nefarious plan, finished his dessert and was about to go prepare for the night out, Hilda walked into the dining room. Young master, Lady Martha von Rosen is here, she wishes to speak with you. She said. Guide her to the study, the one on the ground floor, Victor said before turning to Lynn. Come with me, he said. Ellipsis. Martha slowly entered the mansion under the guidance of the little girl who showed her the way politely. She said nothing, carefully observing the little girls who wore maid outfits and were carefully cleaning the luxurious vases around the mansion. She could feel that those girls all had unique bloodlines. As an old expert, she could tell from the girls' looks as certain features like how the girls moved and the color of their hair would indicate that, especially when the bloodlines achieve a certain degree of purity. How did Victor collect all of those? She wondered as she reached the study where the little girl clumsy shook her head, took a deep breath then knocked on the door. Lady Martha is here, she said politely, stuttering a bit. Let her in, and prepare some sugar water. No, what was it again? Tea, yes. Bring us tea for us humans to drink, put a lot of sugar in it, a lot. Victor replied from the inside making the little maid frown and then nod. This way please. She bowed to Martha as she opened the door for her. Martha thanked the maid with a nod and then entered carefully examining the study as she walked in. Victor was sitting on his chair lazily as Lynn, who was sitting in his lap, carefully fed him some grapes. He didn't even care to stand and greet Martha, but she had long expected that. She could feel it, the familiar dark aura disgusting around him. Lynn had succeeded in implementing that demon in him. Sit down, Victor spat, as a man would command his servants, not his in-laws, not the ones he liked anyway. Martha silently sat down and watched silently as Lynn finished feeding her demonic husband then wiped his mouth with a napkin while shooting Martha an apologetic look. Good, now go tell the girls to prepare themselves for the hunt, you better not mess up this time. Victor told Lynn who shivered then ran out after a respectful bow. She was obviously afraid of him. Well, Martha had long expected that. How could a master demon act timidly around girls? As soon as the door closed, Martha went on her knees and bowed to Victor. Martha had seen the winged one, she said nervously. Flying cockroaches were scary, demons are not. You did well, Victor said as he began to look at his fingers as if he was enjoying his own body. This body, despite its ugly look and the lack of extra legs, is simply amazing, it has some very ancient and powerful bloodlines, he said. Oh, really? Ellipsis. Yes, yes of course, we chose the best for your eminence. Martha quickly corrected herself. Yes, and mating those human women is interesting, especially that bitch Margaret. If I didn't know any better I would have sworn she had a mantis ancestor. I can't wait until they lay my eggs. Ah, I am happy that your eminence has found what you want, she said, choosing not to correct him about the eggs thing. You came for your request? He asked. This slave would never dare to ask. She said. You did good, so you deserved it, he said, throwing her a folded piece of paper. It contains the recipe for the life-extending pill I promised, he said. Thank you, she said, unable to hide her smile as she quickly grabbed the paper and then something that he threw to her out of nowhere. It was a storage ring. This is, she asked, something extra for choosing this perfect body for me. Inside that cheap ring, there is a jar of rust blood. I thought all of you, summoners, liked this thing. Ah, thank you winged one. Martha said in shock as she bowed again. This is what you get when you follow my swarm. He said proudly. Martha bowed again, making sure to check the ring and the jar inside of it. Holy shit, it was there. She really wanted to cry. She didn't even have a ring of her own and this demon was giving her a ring with the treasure the family was searching the world for just like that. Making a deal with this demon was not a bad thing at all. No, wait, a deal with a demon is never too easy. Winged one, what can this slave do for you? She asked nervously, hoping that his request in exchange for the rust blood would not be excessive. Bring me girls, they must be young and have good bloodlines. 6 will do, he said after thinking for a moment. 1 for every leg I have. Ah, this might require a month or 2, she said. I don't mind, he said. I have enough for now, and if I don't go too rough they will survive until then, he added seemingly feeling a little contradicted. Then this slave will try her best, she said, hiding her disgust. Then go, this one has a busy schedule, and keep everything about me secret, you know what would happen if you leak something, he said as he disgustingly licked his lips. I know, she said, then turned and quickly left the room, not even stopping to take care of Lin, who seemed to want to ask her something. With the rust blood in hand, she had to hurry to the family's base. With this accomplishment, she was sure that her power in the family will grow by leaps and bounds. She couldn't wait to make the matriarch beg her for this. Chapter 356, Request. You did well, Victor chuckled and hugged Lin when he noticed her sulky look after she re-entered the study. She felt like an abandoned child as her aunt didn't even care about her after her mission was finished. Will my mother be okay? She asked, hugging him back and putting her head on his chest after she sat on his lap. Don't worry, I will try my best to save her life, just give her a hint to stay away from Martha and the Von Rosen base for the next few months, he said as a little maid came with 2 cups of tea full of sugar. Young master, are those still needed? She asked with a blush as she noticed Lin's ambiguous position and the fact that the guest had already left. Just give them to the chicks, you girls are sweet enough so you don't need to drink them, Victor casually told the lowly as Hilda walked inside the study, almost bumping into the little blushing maid who was on her way out. Young master, your cousin Zoe has just woken up and wants to talk to you, and the chicks at the outer gate just called. Your grandfather General Calvin is on his way up the mountain, she said. Guide Calvin here when he arrives, Victor said, then paused for a moment. Tell Alpha to hide in some hole, and give Zoe something to eat, I will talk to her later, he said. Zoe must have been very tired in the moon dungeon, as unlike him, she didn't really get a chance to relax. Hilda nodded then walked out wondering how to rephrase Victor's order to Alpha to be more polite. What does your grandfather want? Lin asked after waiting for Hilda to leave. Some stupid request probably, Victor said, squinting his eyes before spanking Lin's butt. Now stop being naughty and go prepare yourself, we have a long night to spend out, he said. She nodded as she jumped off him, gave him a long kiss then walked out. Ellipsis. Calvin sighed as he was guided by the little maid through the lavishly decorated mansion corridor. He read the reports and knew that this entire mansion belonged to his grandson, but when he reached this place he realized that he failed to understand that this mansion encompassed an entire mountaintop. Why wasn't he born into a rich family? He wondered as he watched the lowly maids run around doing their chores with a smile on their faces. It is not like he also wanted some lowly maid or anything depraved like that. But as any man would, he just felt jealous when he saw his grandsons living in a perverted way like this. He is a pervert, the short-haired girl in a black suit who was following behind him said. Shui, you promised to keep your silence, and he is my grandson, so stop acting this cold, Calvin said. He really wanted Shui to get interested in one of his grandsons who might be able to untie the knot in her heart. Let's just get over this, she said. This way. The lowly maid guided them politely toward the lavish study where Victor was waiting for him. Grandfather. It had been a while, Victor said, hugging Calvin tightly after he invited him inside while gesturing to the maid to get them something to drink, something with less sugar. Congratulations on your wedding, Calvin said as he took a seat, feeling a little good by the way Victor is treating him. Elena really raised some good offspring. He met Alice and Mike for the first time at the wedding, and both of them treated him very respectfully. Why couldn't all his other offspring be this good? Thanks, Victor said as he took a seat beside his grandfather. Then glanced at the girl who stood behind Calvin. This is, he asked. You remember Shui, right? Calvin said. Shui, she was the girl I brought with me when we met at your hotel room in Golden Waterfall Town. The lesbian, Victor acted as if he suddenly remembered. She was in a military uniform so I couldn't recognize her now. It is okay, Calvin said as he shot Shui a glare. She was about to explode when he called her a lesbian. She was not, she just hated all men. Victor chuckled as someone knocked on the room's door. It was a little maid who entered with a tray full of teacups which she carefully placed in front of everyone and then clumsily bowed. You may leave, Victor said to the maid then turned to Calvin. Sorry for not contacting you after the wedding, but you know how you forget everything once the girls start taking off your clothes while fighting on who to go first, Victor said, making Calvin's smile go shallow immediately. He had no idea what this felt like, he wanted to know, but he didn't dare to. Shui behind him who was sampling the tea almost spat it at Victor, but she held herself, hateful glaring at him. Pervert. I am not blaming you, I know how young people can be, Calvin said after clearing his throat. So, what did you want to ask me about? Victor asked, raising one eyebrow. I already gave you the contact info for that organization, what was it called again? Fart or something. It is called Fragrant Shadow, Calvin said. And yes, I contacted them, and they have proved very helpful. We are already in the process of merging our information databases. He said. Oh, cool, I am not really into all of this espionage thing, so if it has anything to do with that, don't involve me. The last time something like this happened I ended up getting dragged into a tranny's den. This young master almost lost his Victor cleared his throat and stopped talking as if caught himself before saying something inappropriate. Officially he didn't have anything to do with his shadow organizations. Oh, it is not about them. Then anything is fine. Do you need some money? I can lend you some. No, not that, it is about a couple of things. Calvin said. The first thing is about your resort. The one you are building atop the waterfall. Yes, its construction should be nearing its final stages, Victor said. He totally forgot about that thing as it was supposed to be built to trap Sebastian below it, but that ended up as a failure. What's about it? Can you perhaps sign a deal with my hotel so that we can share visitors? Calvin asked. The resort was the biggest thing in town, and under the begging of his wife and sons, he had to shamelessly ask Victor for a part of the pie. You can ask my mother, I plan to give her the entire thing. Victor said directly. Golden Waterfall Town would mostly be spared during the reckoning, so if his mother stayed there she would be safe if the reckoning date got changed for some reason. Oh, Calvin was pleasantly surprised. Then I will talk to her. He nodded, then winked to Shui as if telling her to look how good and filial his grandson was. She completely ignored him. What else did you want to ask me about? Vitor asked. Well, what I need to ask you is concerning a dungeon, Calvin finally said in a low voice. Oh, Victor frowned, gesturing to Calvin to stop talking as he took a few talismans and activated them under Calvin and Shui's curious eyes. Now we can talk securely. What dungeon? Victor, who got a little interested, asked. One of my men returned to his village about a month ago. There was news that one of his cousins went missing in the mountains or something like that, so he hurried to try to look for him, and in the process he found it, Calvin said, taking a photo from his pocket and showing it to Victor. It was a huge dungeon gate inside a small crevice in the mountain between two strange-looking trees that had feathery-looking leaves. And what do you want me to do? Victor asked, looking at the photo and focusing on the trees. It was common knowledge that dungeons affect the world around them, and those trees were clearly getting mutated by the dungeon. It is usually possible to figure out a few things from such things. Calvin scratched the back of his head. Well, I was wondering, would it be possible for you to help us conquer this dungeon? He asked. You want me to do all the work and then leave the conquered dungeon with all the minerals and treasures left inside to you? Victor asked, keeping his eyes on the photo. We will get you your share, Calvin chuckled dryly. Wait a moment, Victor said as he took his phone, and sent the photo Calvin showed him to Lily, asking her about it. Lily had a full memory of the Imperial Dungeon records. If this dungeon was there, it would save him a lot of trouble. He was not going to risk the lives of his girls for some random unknown dungeon. Moments later the reply came. This dungeon happened to be on that list with an unknown conqueror. It was an E-ranked one called the Three Harpies Lair. After conquering it, a Franganat guano mine would be left behind. This matter has many uses but is not that important. Victor quickly told Lily to wear her veil, then drag Theta and Zoe, then come to the study. I will get some of my girls who are more knowledgeable than me in such matters. I usually relegate such stuff to them, Victor told Calvin casually. Moments later the study's door was knocked and three very pretty girls entered. Good morning, cousin. Zoe, who had dark circles around her eyes, said shyly as she was dragged inside by Lily. She was feeling very flustered around him after she watched the entire action in the opposing room last night. She didn't want to, but the damn blinds in her room didn't work. It is already in the afternoon, Victor said, hiding his evil smile. Come sit. You met my grandfather at the wedding, right? He asked. Yes, it is nice to meet you again, Master Calvin. Zoe greeted Calvin politely, followed by the girls who bowed a little to him. Nice to meet you too, Calvin said with a nod as he turned to look at Lily, who was wearing her veil. He saw this girl at the wedding, and from what he heard Elena telling her mother, he knew that she was a maid, and Victor seemed to have been planning to marry her but didn't get a chance because of his father's refusal, some family drama. He also noticed Theta, who hurried to Victor's side and sat down after shooting Lily an apologizing look. Wasn't this girl a little young? Now, what do you think about this? Victor asked directly, giving the photo to Lily as if she was his boss. It is in. He looked at Calvin. Rosewind Mountain, near Blue Rose Village, he replied, watching the dynamic between Lily and Victor. The moment she walked in, Victor sat straight as if he feared her. Lily, who seemed to be enjoying being the mistress, nodded and looked at the photo for a few seconds, then raised her head. From the gate, I can tell that it is not that high-ranking dungeon, probably an E rank, but we need an on-site inspection to be sure. She acted as if she had no idea. Do you want us to conquer this? She asked Calvin. Ah, yes, my grandfather wants that, Victor said, acting a little like he was a rich young master who didn't do a thing by himself. What do we get in return? Lily asked Calvin immediately, making him realize whom he should negotiate with. Ah, how about everything you get before the conquest and 20% of whatever is left? Calvin asked. Lily frowned as she thought. Fragrant guano can be used to make not only a very good fertilizer for rare herbs. It was an ingredient for some very expensive perfumes that no one had discovered yet. So she didn't mind it even if she grabbed only 5% of the output. That much would be enough to overturn the entire cosmetics industry. Wait, Lily secretly glanced at Victor, who nodded to her, making her smile behind her veil. He wanted her to create this company after she retired to her family. It was a method to secretly keep in touch and smuggle goods. Too little. In addition to keeping our involvement a secret, we want 25%. And you will have to pay the shipping fee, she finally said. Ah, deal, Calvin said directly. This was easier than expected. He was prepared to get only 50% as he will not be risking anything here. Good. Robin, how about you assemble a team to go and appraise it and then try to conquer it? Can you do that? Lily turned to Theta and said after getting Victor's wink. Victor wanted Theta to lead one of his teams, so this was a good first test for her. With her luck, nothing bad should happen. Ah, me? Theta asked as she looked at Victor, feeling a little conflicted. Yes, take your sisters and try it, Victor said, then paused and turned to Zoe. How about you go too, cuz? He asked. You want me to take care of your girls? Zoe, who finally figured out why he called her here, asked. Yes, I will send Lynn too. With the two of you there everything should be fine, he nodded shamelessly. What do I get in return? Zoe asked as she smiled. Ah, what do you want? Victor asked. I request. I will decide on it later, she paused and said as Calvin, who was watching the exchange, smiled. It reminded him of his youth. Ah, okay, but it can't be anything that will make me violate my principles, he said nervously, making her almost spit on him. Don't worry, it won't, she said as she looked away to hide her face that turned bright red after remembering the show she involuntarily watched last night. How could she ever violate Victor's principles? Her shameless cousin had none to begin with. Chapter 357, Lara and the Magical Girls. It was at 5 p.m. when Victor finally was able to get rid of his grandfather and finish explaining his plan to Alpha. Remember what I told you, the gambling network must be online tonight. Use the movie ranking as its first bet, maybe we can catch some small fish. And how the hell am I going to do this in 2 hours? Alpha scolded. Buy a fucking gambling website, and throw money on some lazy-ass developer. Do I have to spell everything for you? Victor said. Take some money from Margaret. Where is she? He asked as he walked out of the study. She already went with the others. Hilda, who was waiting for him, answered. Arya and Mira should be at the company, while the others went shopping before the movie. Oh, damn, I didn't notice it was this late, Victor said. That's what happens when you keep arguing over every small detail. He scolded Alpha, who looked away, totally not aware that Victor knew that she kept asking him about every little thing on purpose, trying to figure out some secret info he knew about the future. Just take care of it fast, he sighed. Now where is my suit? He asked Hilda. Here it is, you should dress while you are on your way. Hilda said. It is almost the jam hour. Oh, Victor nodded, taking the suit, then quickly headed outside where a luxurious golden painted white steed car was waiting for him. Leo, who was tasked to drive Victor around as usual, opened the luxurious car's door respectfully. He wanted to drive Victor home after the wedding, and maybe get a glimpse at the mysterious wives, but his request was denied by his superiors. Apparently, a private company handled the transportation at that time and he was tasked with driving some of the company managers and waiting for them. Too bad those managers seemed to have left without telling him, letting him wait in that underground garage for an entire night. They could have left him a message or something. He wanted to pick a fight with them on the next day, but they were nowhere to be found. After asking around, he learned that apparently they were all hurriedly transported to some desert county to work on a secret project after offending some VIP at the wedding. "Young master, it is rare to see you alone," Leo said in a humorous tone as he waited for Victor to take his seat. "Yeah, that's what happens when you marry a bunch of ungrateful girls. They only know how to suck this young master dry at night then escape to go shopping in the morning with my credit card," Victor sighed, making Leo, who was making fun of him, almost curse out of jealousy. "Now quickly head to the company. This young master doesn't want to be late," Victor scolded, glancing at the watch in his hand. He still had time for that. As Horizon Media CEO, he needed to accompany the company managers to the theater to walk the red carpet with Mira. "Oh, okay," Leo said as he closed the door for visitor and then climbed into the driver's seat while trying hard not to stare at the line of lily maids who bowed politely in their cute maid uniforms to see their young master off. Damn it, he was feeling jealous. He was not a lolicon, he preferred big-boobed older women, but still. Damn it, why do young masters get it all? The car quickly sped up through the highway as Victor, who was in the backseat, awkwardly changed his clothes into the dashing brick red tuxedo Mira chose for him. She had a fight with Lily over it, but as this night was for Mira, Lily reluctantly gave up. Leo, who was watching secretly from the front, couldn't help but notice Victor's perfect muscles and body shape as he changed. He was not gay or anything, but damn, how can a rich young master like Victor get a body like that? No wonder those girls are crazy after him. What kinds of exercises does the young master do usually? Leo quickly decided to strike up a conversation. He was waiting for Victor to begin bragging about the gym in his mansion, then taking the opportunity, Leo would ask him if he could come to see it, and maybe train in it after that. He could already imagine those lily maids drooling as they shyly watched him lift some weights. Exercise. What exercise? This young master has a bed full of lascivious wives waiting for me every night. When do I have time to exercise? Victor said directly as he hastily put on his red and purple striped tie, making Leo regret he asked. So it was that kind of exercise. Quote. Leo considered asking what workouts Victor did before he married but decided it was not worth it. It is not good to appear pushy. So, for the next few minutes, the car grew silent as Victor finished wearing his suit and then sat quietly, looking out and watching the afternoon sunlit road go by outside. It took them another 15 minutes to reach the company, where a bunch of executives and employees were waiting for him outside dressed in expensive tuxedos and dresses. Victor stepped down from the car, where he was welcomed by Arya and Mira, who wore a turquoise blue dress and a rose red dress respectively. "You are late," Mira said as she hugged Victor, followed by Arya. "We arranged a reception in the company lobby for you, but it is too late now. We must hurry to the theater if we want to catch Monica and Lara's opening song." "No, you are the early ones," he corrected them, then looked at the company employees who were bowing in the back, while giving Victor some nervous looks. Despite the fact that many of them were seeing Victor for the first time, they have all heard the rumors around him, both the old and the new ones that spread after the wedding in the tabloids. Too bad very few photos of the wedding existed and none of them showed what happened there. One thing they knew for sure was that half of the company managers disappeared that night after angering the CEO. "Nice to see you all. I will make this short," he said, clearing his throat. "I don't care about anything else, but if this movie achieves a 90% rating or above, I will give each of you 1000% of your salary as a reward by the end of the year," he said, making the employees all cheer. He might be an evil young master, but he knew how to buy people's hearts. "Let's go," he said. "1 second, Mira said as she began to adjust Victor's tie and jacket under the envious eyes of the male employees. Some of them even dared to bite their lips in jealousy while totally unaware that their inventory action got them on a list that they didn't know existed. "All done," Mira said, dusting Victor's jacket and giving him an apprehensive look. Damn, her husband was hot. Victor chuckled as if reading her thoughts, then quickly got back into the car, followed by Mira the Arya, who was hesitating whether she should also be in this car but was dragged inside by Victor. The car quickly took off after that, followed by the company's fleet. "Congratulations on your marriage, Ms. Arya, and Ms. Mira," Leo, who didn't get the chance to congratulate the girls before, said as he drove the car. He was trying to strike up a conversation again. Victor was his best shot at riches, and he was going to find something that interests him one way or another. "Thanks," Arya said with a happy and satisfied smile as casually put her head on Victor's shoulder. As if feeling jealous, Mira did the same from the other side. "Damn, Leo secretly cursed and then swallowed the words he wanted to utter. Hopefully this movie will be a big success, he said again. Yes, Arya nodded. Keep driving no matter what. And when I tell you to press forward, Victor suddenly said, making Leo frown as he watched Victor slowly lean over the surprised Mira to lower the side window, then take something round from his pocket and throw it out. Now, Victor said, making Leo, who just realized that Victor had thrown a grenade inside the open window of another car, quickly press the gas pedal to its limit and drive away from the other car. BOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOM, and all too familiar exposition rang at the back. Boom, a bigger one followed. Keep driving, Victor ordered, then sighed. But the police, Leo wanted to ask. You do your job, they will be doing theirs, Victor said casually as he began fiddling with his phone. Were they after us? Mira asked nervously. One of the men had a rocket launcher aimed at us, Victor said, making Leo, who was driving, begin to sweat. He did hear rumors that the White family was engaged in the drug and human trafficking industry and that Victor killed his cousin to take his place. He thought that those were just baseless rumors, as Victor didn't seem to be the violent type. Now he discovered that he was mistaken. Who are they? Arya asked as she watched Victor send something on his phone and then receive a confirmation. Oh, some stupid businessman seemed to have ordered a hit on me, Victor said with a frown after flipping through Kai's report. It is related to some stupid woman who got slapped on the face by Margaret a while ago. Quote, Margaret, and, Mira asked, would they try again? She asked as several police cars whisked by them, heading to the explosion scene. No, Victor said as he got another report. Seemingly, they are dead, they were hit by a truck transporting shit, and then their corpses were eaten by rats after the coroner forgot to lock the door to the morgue that day. What kind of bad luck is this? Oh, I see, Victor paused as he read the report. What? Nothing, just a strange coincidence. Those two have angered the wrong guy, Victor said with a strange smile, explaining no further. Nothing will happen, I already ordered Kai to exterminate the stupid gang who dared to accept and perform a hit on me. Let's just relax and enjoy the night, he said casually, reassuring the girls as Leo, who was eavesdropping, began considering quitting his job for real. No, he should do the opposite. He should find a way to grab onto Victor's perfect muscular thighs. Leo renewed his resolve. Ellipsis. The car reached the theater a few minutes later, stopping right over the red carpet where an announcement was made as soon as Victor stepped down from the car. Now, finally, the last to arrive. We welcome our one and only star, Mira Elvin, in a bright red Raymond troll dress that looks super dashing on her. Accompanying her is the director of Horizons Media, Arya White, in a lavender purple goldsmith dress, the commentator said, making all the reporters point their cameras at the trio who had just left the car. Now the next one is Victor, you damn bastard. How dare you take Mira from US, how dare you blemish AHHHHHHHHHHHHH. My balls, the Mira fan commentator fell to the ground, clutching his crotch, forcing a few guards to quickly come and get him as someone else took his place. The nutcracker got to him in front of hundreds of cameras that couldn't catch a thing. It all happened in a split second, and the foolish man became a eunuch. Next is the one and only Mr. Victor White. Yes, he is the famous rich star of our city who held his amazing once-in-a-century wedding 2 weeks ago, to a group of wonderful girls who included Mrs. Mira and Mrs. Arya. Look how handsome he is, no wonder the girls fell for him. The new commentator, who seemed to have found his chance to fame, said. Give that guy a raise, Victor told Arya with a bright smile as he hugged her and Mira from the back walk the red carpet while shooting smiles at the cameras. He doesn't work for us, Arya said as she put her head on Victor's chest patiently and then waved to the crowd. Then hire him and give him a raise, Victor said, making Mira, who was also waving to the crowd, giggle a bit. Mrs. Mira, how do you feel about the new movie? One reporter asked after he almost had a heart attack caused by her bright smile. It will be a success. All of us worked really hard to create it, Mira said with a smile. I hope you all enjoy it. Mr. Victor, how was your honeymoon? When will you be releasing the wedding photos? Another female reporter asked Victor. It was none other than Gloria Flick, who was released on bail earlier this day. Gloria, long time no see. I heard you were caught around my house trying to take some photos, Victor responded directly. It was a misunderstanding. I will prove it in court. She quickly responded. I hope it is. Now if I remember, my wives had a restraining order against you. Guards, Victor shouted as he posed for a photo with his 2 wives while ignoring Gloria, who was dragged away by the guards and a few policemen. After that, Arya answered some questions about the company's new project before the trio walked inside the theater, refusing to make any further statements. Once inside, Victor was guided by a blushing girl staff to one of the 3 VIP balconies where his entire harem was waiting. "You are late," Margaret directly said. "Mira is about to go on stage," she added as the theater's light began to dim down. "Sorry, you know how Alpha can be," Victor said as he headed to his seat in the front while glancing at his wives who were all dressed in very pretty gowns and veils on their faces, copying Lily to help hide her. This included Elise, who also chose to come in a wheelchair. She chose to hide the fact that she was cured by her family, as this would make them ask too many questions. "Is my mother and father here?" Victor asked as he sat down right between Lily and Theta, who seemed to have won a bet to get to sit beside him. "Only your mother with George and your grandfather. They are at the opposite VIP balcony," Margaret said, pointing toward the reflective glass-covered balcony. This theater was designed with safety in mind, so all the VIP rooms were covered by a one-way mirror, bulletproof glass. "Ladies and gentlemen," a pretty voice suddenly sounded in the theater, making everyone quiet. It was Monica, who walked on stage with a spotlight right over her. "Before the movie starts, we at Horizons Media would like to take the chance for some shameless advertisement, and to introduce our new idol band, chosen from the cutest and most talented girls around Vane the city. Let me introduce Lara and the Magical Girls, who will perform our next movie's theme song as we play its trailer," she said as a group of 11 pretty little girls in very cute frilly Magical Girls uniforms walked on stage. Lara, Yin, Ren, Stephanie, Mila, Diamond, and finally Little Elle. Mira said the girls' names one by one. They were chosen by Victor personally from hundreds of applicants based on very strict criteria. That was the official story. The truth was that he just asked Lara whom she wanted and filled in their names. "Hello everyone," Lara shouted nervously as she smiled, melting the hearts of the hundreds of attendees by unconsciously allowing her demonic blood charm to affect them. "I hope you like our song," she said nervously as she looked at the girls behind her. "Let's go," she said as the dark screen lit up, showing the trailer of the upcoming movie, A New World, The Dragon Princess Saga. At the same time the girls began to sing. "We rode the love train. It took us to heaven. Choo choo. The hero fought the demon in the rain. He beat her and saved the world again. Go go. Ellipsis. ... This one was the real version, which although still had many obscure meanings, was like any other song, that could be interpreted in many ways. And it was very catchy. The girls began performing a very catchy dance as they sang. Although it was a little hard for them, being led by the tireless Lara, they carried on, totally not being aware that their dance was going to be the next big thing online. By the time the song ended with a band on the screen behind, the attendees, whom many were skeptical at first, began to unwillingly sing the song along with the girls as if they were enchanted. They had just become fans of the lively little girls band on stage. "Thank you for listening our song everyone," Lara shouted to the crowd again as soon as she finished the song, bowing politely with the other girls. "Please support us when our new album comes out next month," she said, waving to everyone as she stepped down the stage followed by the totally exhausted little girls. "What an amazing performance," Monica, who was playing host, commented as soon as the girls left. "Now, let us start the movie. Hopefully, you would like it. A little hint though, Miss Lara has a little cameo appearance in it, try to spot it." Chapter 358, Devil Dragon. "You were good," Elena smiled and said as she watched Lara and the girls enter her VIP balcony with wet towels over their heads, and water bottles in their hands. "Come relax, the movie is about to start." Lara nodded as she relaxed in a seat next to her mother, followed by the other girls. They were feeling very happy as the crowds cheered for them. This was their debut, and it was a massive success. "You were not bad at all," Calvin, who was sitting next to Elena, said with a nod. "Thanks, Grandpa," Lara politely thanked him with a slight blush, then looked around. "Did esteemed brother come?" she asked. "Yes, he is in another VIP balcony with his wives," Elena said, sighing. So did Zoe, who was sitting on this balcony with them. She didn't want to sit with Victor and his wives. The atmosphere they created made her feel uncomfortable. She couldn't tell why. "The one that is bouncing all around?" Lara asked. "Bouncing," Elena said as she looked at the other balcony. It was truly bouncing, going up and down in a light, slightly but observable lewd motion. "WTF, the movie didn't start and they are already at it. It is just like a train," Stephanie commented. "Yes, they must be having a party there," Ren said as Elle nodded. Her Uncle Black's wooden pig hut used to shake like that sometimes, but whenever she went there to investigate she would get scolded. I wonder what they are doing, another little girl said, not noticing the warning glares Elena was shooting her. They must be testing the new 5D cinema movie mechanisms there, George, who realized what Elena was thinking, interjected. It is a new technology that the family has been promoting throughout its theaters. Ah, really? Elena asked. Yup, look under the balcony, you can notice the hydraulic pistons moving. George explained, making Elena sigh in relief. She began feeling a little embarrassed. It is not her fault, she married into a family of perverts. Can our chamber bounce too? Lara asked excitedly. Yes, but it will do that during the movie when there is some camera shake, he said. Just wait and see, he said, making the girls get a little excited. Yin, where are you going? Elle suddenly asked as she watched Yin turn to exit the room. The movie is starting. The ladies' room, Yin said as she walked out, then turned left and headed toward Victor's VIP room directly. There, before she could knock on the door, she heard Victor's voice from inside. Come in, he said, making her open the door shyly and enter, not knowing what scene she should expect. If the news she held was not very important, she would have never dared to come here at this time. She kept her eyes on the ground as she walked inside, then slowly lifted her head. There was nothing lewd inside. They were truly just having fun testing the shake mechanisms. Margaret, who got the control device, was being a little naughty, making the shake follow some perverted rhythms. Young master, Yin headed to the front and greeted Victor, then paused as she looked at him and frowned. I have a demonic smell, right? Victor smiled and asked, making the girls frown. Especially Lily and Margaret. She nodded nervously. Don't worry, I seem to have some demonic bloodline that got enhanced when I awakened my bloodline. Try to look at my soul, he said, sighing. He wanted to hide this from the girls, but seemingly it was hard. So he decided to just not tell them how powerful it was. Yin frowned, then scanned Victor's soul. Despite being 100 times shinier than the last time she saw it and having some dark air going around it, it was the same. She nodded as she looked away while closing her eyes. He was too damn shiny. You wanted to tell me about Lara, right? He said. She also has this demonic bloodline that got activated when I helped her fix her bloodline, but it is at a very low concentration, so you don't need to worry, Victor said, reassuring the little girl. We are still humans with demonic powers, he joked as Lily squinted her eyes looking at him. It is not that, Yin said. Something happened 1 week ago. What? Victor asked as he looked at the adjacent balcony, inspecting Lara. Lara von Weiss, STR 124. Int 70, Luck 10, Charm 75, Fate, Fate's power, Defined fate, none, Fate list unavailable, warning, Fate divergence detected, Fate is unstable and might change. Bloodline, Devil Dragon, SSS, 100% UNAWAKENED. Wah! Victor shrieked and stood up, surprising the girls, who stopped caring about the movie that had already started. What? Lily asked. She could tell that Victor's reaction was genuine. Her bloodline had evolved into a devil dragon, and the demonic bloodline she had before is gone. He said. What happened to her? He asked Yin again. We were in that idiot Stephanie's house. Her father runs an antique store, Yin said. Yes, I did investigate him, Victor nodded, remembering what he read about that opportunistic man. Did she find some strange artifact in his home or something like that? He asked, raising one eyebrow as he read the comment on her fate. He messed too much with Lara's fate that it was natural that whatever the world had in plan for her before, it was no longer relevant. No, that man only deals in fakes. Yin shook her little head. We were just drinking some tea when Lara suddenly fell to the ground. She stood up almost a minute later as if nothing had happened, saying that the tea made her dizzy. It happened the next morning. Lara had a slight fever and didn't go to school. She got better at noon, but ever since then, the demonic smell around her became a little stronger, she said. Her soul is still the same, but has 2 long black horns now, she added in a low voice. I see. What kind of tea did she drink? Victor asked. Yin quickly took the storage ring that was held in a chain around her neck, and from inside of it, she took a tin box of very expensive tea that she borrowed. Victor frowned looking at the box. It was an old product, probably 20 years old or so, but this kind of tea is meant to be left to ferment. Suddenly he thought of something and inspected the tea with his skills, but still, he found nothing. It was a completely normal, expensive box of tea. In fact, he knew this type of tea. he even tried it a few times in his previous life. It was very popular among old folks and he remembered that his grandpa Calvin had one of those. Nothing here, he said. Are you sure it is the tea? He asked Yin. She nodded nervously. Elle saw that it smelled funny, and she is usually right about such things, she added. Let me have a look, Lily said, taking the box from Victor's hand and smelling it. What? Victor asked. She didn't answer, but just frowned and closed her eyes as if trying to figure something out before opening her eyes. It does smell funny, she said. And, try drinking it, she told Victor, seemingly not sure. Victor hesitated, then used the balcony's intercom to call for a pot of boiling water that was quickly prepared. Soon the pot arrived, and Victor prepared a cup of tea before he drank it. It was not a bad tea, but nothing strange happened. Nothing, huh? Lily squinted her eyes as she looked at the box. What is your theory? Victor asked. This tea has many herbs, some of them have some energy fluctuations, they might have been picked from the premises of some dungeon. My guess is that one of them might have interacted with the leftovers of the blood cleansing pill in Lara's body and caused her two bloodlines to merge. What is the rank of the demonic bloodline in her body? Lily asked. I am not sure. My identification skill could only see question marks when I appraised it, but I guessed it should have been SS or SSS, he said. How much was its purity? About 2% or 3%. Victor tried hard to remember. Oh, then my guess is probably right. This weak bloodline must have been swallowed by the strong one under the effects of the drugs, causing a mutation, Lily explained. You need to make Hannah examine those things, and tell Kai to investigate this tea company. Indeed, Victor said, looking at Yin. You did good. Make sure to monitor Lara and report if anything strange happens. Hopefully, this would be good for her. He said. Although he was a little worried about Lara after this upgrade, he could do nothing to revert it. His best course of action was now to keep monitoring her. Yin nodded. And your singing was good too. Keep up the good work and soon you will be a big star. He added, making Yin blush then bow politely and walk out. That girl is really good. I am sure she will get prettier as she grows up, Lily said as she watched Yin leave. Are you planning to add her to your harem? She asked. Who knows, I will leave that choice to her. He said as he stood up and then headed to the door. Where are you going? Mina asked. Like the rest of the girls, she wanted to enjoy a peaceful movie night with Victor. Call of nature, this fucking tea is more effective than I expected, he chuckled. Do you want us to join you later? Margaret asked lewdly. Just enjoy the movie, we will have plenty of time later. He sighed, shaking his head as he walked out and headed to the VIP restroom. He needed to find some time to take the girls on a date separately. It took him a few minutes to do his business and walk out to wash his hands and happened to bump into a young man who apologized and then hurried into one of the cubicles. The way he looked at Victor was very strange, making Victor pause and use his appraisal skill. Name: Michael Orr, STR 32. Int 15, Luck 10, Charm 17, Fate's power, A, defined fate, be your sister's dog. Nothing strange other than the guy's strength. Nah, taking too many steroids can cause this. Victor sighed as he walked out of the restroom where he almost bumped into someone. It was Mina who was waiting for him, or was it Mana? Couldn't wait, huh? He asked with a lewd smile. No, I couldn't, she said very coldly as he appraised her to make sure which of the twins she was. Name: Mona Orr, STR 41. Int 20, Luck 19, Charm 19, Fate's power, S, defined fate. Cyan, you paint the word revenge with your enemy's blood. What the FCK? Victor asked in shock just as he felt someone behind him pull a black sack over his head and then something hit his stomach. He could only smell the potent sedative as he collapsed to the ground moments later. Chapter 359, Kidnapped. Quickly, this way, Mona said as they pushed the cart that had unconscious Victor hidden on it under a stack of trash. Moments later they reached the theater's underground parking lot where they headed to a black van parked to the side. Gloria, come and help, Mona told the girl who was waiting for them. We didn't bail you out to be lazing around. I already told you everything about Victor and even helped you plant a tracking device on him. Gloria scolded. Get to work, bitch, or I swear I will find a way to put you back in the cell we found you in. Mona scolded coldly, making Gloria move her lazy ass. Sis, don't be so harsh on her, Michael said. Shut up and get to the driver's seat. Let's finish this quickly before someone comes here. Mona scolded as she emptied the cart on the ground and then dragged Victor inside the van just as Michael started the engine. Will they really trade him for Mina and Mana? Michael asked as the car began to move out. Couldn't we just ask? He added. You don't know how those aristocratic families work. Once you are their servant, you are in reality a slave. Mona said hatefully as if this comes from personal experience. They will never let go of the girls if we don't use drastic measures then disappear. But what if the twins were brainwashed? Michael asked. What if they refused to believe us? What if you could just shut up and let me think? Mona scolded, biting her nail. We will see what we can do when it happens. What if Mother blamed us? Michael said. She told us to just investigate their location and gather some more info then wait for her to find an acquaintance. Stop whining, Mona scolded. Don't worry, she will understand. We couldn't just leave them locked in the den of a depraved young master like Victor White. Mona said hatefully, looking at the unconscious Victor and then at Gloria who provided them with most of the info about Victor's many misdeeds. We will get our sisters back before she gets here, she said with the desire to prove herself evident in her voice. Let's hope nothing bad happens, Michael said nervously, being a jinx. After that, the van went silent. Even the usually talkative Gloria preferred to keep her silence. She just secretly made sure that her phone was still recording as the van slowly made its way to a desolate area in Vane City. This was her breakthrough. The slum here was the best place to hide after committing a crime, as the police rarely came here due to how dangerous it was. Even criminals fear for their lives and try to act as discreetly as possible to avoid startling some local snake. Just the other day, there was a new group of delinquents here, trying to act all strong and mighty. They ended up in the hospital 2 days later with new buttholes after offending the crazy maniac. Mona looked vigilantly as the van entered the abandoned warehouse they rented from a local resident. Inside, there was a woman who sat on a wooden chair surrounded by men in black suits. She was waiting for them with a very cold expression on her face. Ah, Mom is here a little early, Michelle said as he stopped the van. Shit, Mona said. Ellipsis. WHO the F***ck allowed you to ACT on your own and kidnap him. A beautiful mature woman who looked somewhat similar to Mona said as she looked at the tied unconscious Victor and then at her stupid son and daughter. Do you know how much trouble did you just cause? Do you know how dangerous your situation is? She asked as the gangster men around the room who usually followed Mona's commands looked away embarrassingly. They wanted nothing to do with this family trouble. We already followed protocol, Michael said. Can you be 100% sure no one saw you? Their mother asked coldly. Ah, Michael could not answer that. Mom, we couldn't just let him abuse our sisters. After we followed our sister's trail, we finally discovered that they work as maids in his mansion. Mona said emotionally. You know how depraved those young masters can be, he even married a dozen girls in one wedding. Shut up, you know nothing, your sisters are already his wives, they were a part of that wedding. The mother said, he is your brother-in-law. What? Michael asked in shock, but that's not what Gloria told us. Gloria, the mother asked, looking at the reporter who hurried to hide her phone that she began using actively after realizing that Michael and Mona belonged to some mafia. Ah, I am Gloria Flick, a reporter. Gloria quickly clarified. A week ago I was doing a report on Victor White when my camera caught sight of your daughters. They were clearly wearing maid uniforms, she quickly began to explain. So it is you bitch. The mother said angrily as she took out a gun, making Gloria shrike back. Mom, don't be so hard on her. Michelle tried to act as a gentleman. She helped us. Shut up. You have no idea what mess are you in and you are still trying to pick up sluts. The mother said, glancing at Victor. She was going around asking about him when she learned some very disturbing facts. First, this guy was a player, unlike her stupid children, and as someone who has seen the world, she had naturally heard rumors about players. Although her gang is not that big right now, when her husband was alive they were one of the strongest organized crime gangs around. The second fact was more troublesome and it was that this guy was an elite heir of the Von Weiss family. When she heard that she hurried here to stop her stupid daughter, but it seemed it was too late. Is it very bad? Mona asked nervously as she clenched her fist. She rarely saw her mother flare up like this since their father's incident. This guy's family is beyond anything you could imagine. They can find and kill us all in seconds. Her mother said as she calmed down slowly. The only reason they are not here yet is because they don't know he was kidnapped yet. She said nervously as she calmed down a little realizing the shit her children were in. Ah, but, Mona said. Then what should we do? Did he see your faces? Her mother asked. Ah, yes, Mona said nervously. Shit, then we should probably, her mother paused. Where is he? She asked, making everyone look at Victor, who was supposed to be tied on the ground. He was no longer there. Before they could begin searching for him, the entire warehouse turned pitch black, and everyone started to hear a majestic voice. That was a disappointment. I thought you guys belonged to the Dark Chamber or some other organization. I even went all the way and allowed you to kidnap me. I should be watching a movie with my wives now, you know, the voice sighed. Well, since you are my in-laws, I will make it quick. Ellipsis. Victor, where have you been? Margaret, who had a mouthful of popcorn, asked as Victor, whose hair was a little disheveled, returned to the VIP balcony simultaneously as the movie's end credit began to roll and the crowd downstairs began to clap in amazement. It was all thanks to Victor, who not only saw the movie that flopped big in his past life but was part of the team who was tasked to collect all the criticism and review why it failed when he worked in Horizon Media. So, ever since that day when they went to the set, Victor began instructing Steven, the director, on all the things they must fix. Although Steven was reluctant to let Victor meddle too much in his masterpiece, the moment he saw the check Victor threw at him, the man accepted. So now, the movie was perfect. You missed the movie, it was good. Lynn said as she watched Mira Below walk to the stage with John Sigma and the rest of the actors and bow to the crowd proudly under their applause. This was a chance to advertise the next movie. Sorry, I was busy getting kidnapped, he said casually, making all the girls look at him with surprise, especially Lily, who frowned and raised one eyebrow. You, getting kidnapped? She asked. How many tanks and bombers did they deploy? How many soldiers died for that noble cause? How many strands from his purple disheveled hair did they manage to touch? Victor ignored her as he moved between the chairs. He didn't return to his seat but gestured for Arya to move, then took her seat beside the twins. What? Mina asked nervously. Do you two have any sisters or brothers? He asked directly, despite already knowing the answer after making Kai investigate Michael and Mona and taking a DNA sample. No, Mina and Mana both shook their heads. Our parents had some kind of disease that didn't allow them to have children. We were a miracle, they used to say. I see. Victor hesitated for a moment. Is there something wrong? Mana asked. I just discovered something a little disturbing, he said, hesitating a bit. Stop with the stupid acting and just say it. Margaret scolded from the back, but Victor ignored her. He was truly acting, but this was not something he could explain fast. Listen, I may have some news. He looked at the twins. Your father and mother, the ones who raised you, were not your real family. He said. They were kidnappers who stole you as babies. What? Both of the twins asked in shock. Looking him in the eye, they could tell that he was not lying. I just ran a quick investigation with Kai's help. We just dug up that man's and woman's grave and compared his DNA to yours, and it does not match. He said. That's why he was a little late to return here. He wanted to be sure of everything. Ah, does it have something to do with your kidnapping? Lily asked. Yes, I have just been kidnapped by a girl who looks exactly like the two of you. Victor said. Apparently she was watching Gloria streaming, and happened to glance at you, realizing that you are her long-lost sisters who were kidnapped as babies, Victor said, taking a silver pendant that had the name Mona engraved on it. It was similar to the pendants the girls wore around their necks. This is hers? Mana asked, stuttering a little as she caught the pendant, then took hers and compared them. They were very similar. Yes, her DNA matches yours. She should be your sister. You are triplets and not just twins, it seems. He said with a depraved smile, then ignored the sound of a chair's armrest getting crushed under Lily's fingers behind him. What did you do to her? Mina quickly asked. As a player, she could control her emotions to a certain extent, unlike a certain Lily who was about to kill her pervert husband who couldn't go out without bringing a new girl home. They were throwing themselves at him like flies on rotten fruit. She is in the basement at home. I didn't do anything bad to them. I used some soul wine to make them talk. They should have already forgotten that though, he said. Wait, they? Lynn asked. Yes, there is a woman who should be your real mother and a young man too who should be your brother. Apparently, he got to Gloria Flick and paid her some money to help them kidnap me. They believed the rumors that I do some human trafficking, and wanted to trade you for me, he said. You do human trafficking? Margaret commented as the twins froze in shock. Regardless, Victor said, holding the twins' hands with his, do you want to meet them, or do you want some time to reflect? He asked the twins. Let's get this over with, Mana said nervously, biting her lip. Good, Victor said, but didn't stand up. He just looked at the twins. I need you to remember one thing though, whatever happens next, you need to remember that I am your family now and that I will always support you. He said, making them smile sweetly and nod. Okay then, you head to the car, I need to go say hi to my mother and Lara, then I will follow you, he said with a sigh. Chapter 360, Captured. Mona slowly opened her eyes, then abruptly sat up and began to look around. The last thing she remembered was that deep voice scolding them for being the wrong kidnappers, then she passed out. WTF, where was she anyway? She seemed to be in some kind of cell in some dimly lit dungeon. No, it was a cage. Looking around her, she could see her brother and mother in nearby cages, collapsed on the hay mattresses. Mom, Michael, Mona yelled for them worriedly as she stood up. Moments later they both woke up and sat up abruptly. Thankfully they seemed fine. Where are we? Michael said. Captured, their mother said coldly as began to feel around her body. Her phones were not on her. Even the small emergency one she secretly kept in her underwear, damn it. Hopefully, her men are all right. Mona too tried to look for her trusty daggers and minigun, but they were all gone. Even the secret device that was strapped up her calf was not there. She looked at Michael, who was also searching for his. Nope, that pervert was scratching his crotch. Some fleas from the hay might have found their way there and decided to make a new home. How did this happen? Michael finally said, removing his hand from his crotch after noticing his sister's glare. I don't remember a thing. Who did it? What happened to Gloria? Is she all right? Is that all you care about? Mona scolded her perverted brother. I am just asking, he said timidly. I don't think we will have to wait long for answers, their mother said as the room lights suddenly turned on, forcing them to close their darkness-adjusted eyes as they heard the door slowly open with a creak. You should oil that door's hinge, a young man said. It sounds very annoying, hurting my delicate ears. We will do that immediately, young master, a little girl replied as the family of three slowly opened their eyes and watched three little maids place a couch in the center of the room facing the cages. A very handsome young man sat on it moments later, placing a stack of files on his side. It was the one and only, Victor von Weiss. Go to Hilda to prepare some jasmine tea and wait in the study, he told one of the maids who nodded, then left the room with her colleagues after a polite bow. The door closed, leaving the young man and his captives eyeing each other. Mona had to confess, Victor was handsome. Although she rarely cared about guys, she couldn't help taking a few glances at him. She couldn't do that earlier because his face was covered with the black cloth. Where is Gloria? Michael was the first one to speak, making Mona return to her senses and secretly wipe the drool off her mouth. What just happened? It was as if she was hypnotized. Answer. What did you do to Gloria? Michael asked again as he stood up and futilely tried to break the iron cage's bar. Everyone ignored him. What did you do to us? Was it a gas? How did you manage to signal your men? Were we being followed? Mona was the one who asked this time, but Victor still ignored her and looked at her mother. So, Vanessa or, Victor said finally as he took a file and began to leaf through it. You were pretty impressive, taking over your gang after your husband died and leading it to safety while fighting numerous enemies, he said. You came a long way here from Limard Theocratic Republic, from another continent. So you already investigated me, she said. You must be clear about why I am here, and about my other identity. Yes, if not for that DNA test I would have never believed that you were my supposed mother-in-law, you just look too young to be a mother. He said directly with a bright smile as he took his eyes off the file and looked at her. She didn't know how to react to his words. Was she supposed to be glad he hitting on her? If she didn't know any better she would have really believed that he was just a pervert young master. But as someone who lived through many dangerous situations, she was not that naive. On the contrary, the way Victor conducted himself made her feel as if she was facing some very old snake who liked to manipulate the world around him. She had noticed the look in his eyes as he inspected her and Mona. It was similar to the one she saw when she dealt with those old bosses, the ones who ate you all and spat nothing out. May I see the DNA report? She asked calmly, hiding her nervousness. Yes, Victor didn't refuse. He stood up, ignoring Michael's and Mona's glare, then approached Vanessa's cage to give her a few pieces of paper. They contained DNA test reports. The names Mina and Mana had a 50% match with her, 35% with Michael, and a 100% match with Mona. Those reports were real, she could tell. She couldn't help but sigh in relief. Mana and Mina were really her missing daughters. What do you plan to do with us? Vanessa asked directly as she held her shaking hand. I don't know yet. You guys tried to kidnap me after all, and I have a responsibility toward my family to keep their face. Victor shrugged, smiling mysteriously as the room went silent, making Vanessa squint her eyes. She was clear that Victor wanted something from her. If not, he would have either killed or released her by now. What did you do to Gloria? Michael asked again. Still no reply. You want me? Mona finally asked. A smart girl. Not really, this was obvious from the way Victor kept glancing at her and secretly licking his lips. Who wouldn't? Victor said, giving her an ambiguous answer. Mona Orr, 18 years old, studying law at Limard's National University. A thorny single-school flower who rejected 79 men and castrated 2. Very reclusive with very few friends and an unnatural obsession with guns. Those photos you sent to that modeling agency a while ago under the persuasion of that pervert bestie of yours are superb though. How did you get those? She asked angrily. They were supposed to be confidential. There is nothing my noble family can't know. Especially if it is something about a pretty girl, he chuckled, making her bite her lip. Well, am I to your liking then? Young master, she asked coldly as she put her hand on her waist, trying to grab the gravity knife that was no longer there. Yup, in more than one aspect. If I hadn't already seen the twins in bikinis, I would have printed your photos as posters and pasted them all over my bedroom. He nodded repeatedly, then continued to leaf through the report. Let's see. 2 years ago, you escaped home and went to Armane Federation and, he began to speak with sparkling eyes, but Mona interrupted him. Would you release us if I spent a night with you? She asked directly in a very cold, freezing voice, changing the subject and diverting her family's attention. She didn't want him to speak about what she did back then. She didn't want her mother and brother to know. She was totally unaware that Victor was waiting for her to ask that question. He wanted her to consider this option even for a second before he released her. It was a way to implement this thought like a seed in her unconscious, then wait for it to sprout as he watered it with his charm. No, Michael yelled as he grabbed the cage's bars. Mom, aren't you going to stop her? He asked, noticing his mother's strange calm attitude. Shut up, Vanessa scolded, then looked at Victor and waited for his answer. This would tell her what kind of person this young master was. And, she trusted her daughter. If Victor really slept with her, he would wake up missing his manhood. There is no need for such drama, Victor sighed, surprising them as he stepped back a little, then flicked his finger, making 2 of the cage's doors open. We are family, come, Mana and Mina want to meet you, he said as he turned around and headed to the door, ignoring the shocked Vanessa and Mona, who didn't expect him to let them go this easily. I thought you had to keep your family's face, Vanessa asked. They don't have one to begin with, they just like to pretend. Victor said as he looked back. Are you coming or not? Do you perhaps have some weird self-fetish? He asked, making them look at each other and then quickly walk out while silently cursing at him. Couldn't he say anything nice? Wait, what about me? Michael asked, banging on his cage's bars. Just stay here and try to enjoy yourself for now. Due to security reasons, uncastrated men are not allowed to roam my mansion freely. Victor stated. That cage's former occupier was the same. He spent some of his best days here before leaving this world for a better place. Who knows, you might be able to find some of his remains in the hay, Victor said with a threatening look before leaving the room and making Michael look around fearfully. Did someone die here? The mother and daughter shot Michael one last look, then quickly followed Victor out. Wait, Michael yelled, but no one cared. He could only stand behind bars and watch them leave like an abandoned child. Fuck, he shouted, kicking the hay and causing something to fly out. It was a magazine. Michael frowned as he bowed and grabbed it before letting go in shock and disgust after seeing the cover. WTF was that? He had never seen anything like this before, as those types of magazines are totally forbidden in Limard. A very conservative country with a ban on everything that could be deemed inappropriate. Michael hesitated, then looking at the door and making sure his sister and mother were really gone, he bent down and grabbed the magazine again. Exploring, exotic wildlife, sleeping, with, nature. The title was written in a bold, depraved font that didn't leave a space for questions. This was a porn magazine of the filthiest kind. Michael couldn't help but start flipping it. Why were all the male crotches gouged out? He wondered who did it as he turned the pages. And there, right in the middle of the magazine, he found a trophy. A red-colored panty was left there as a bookmark over the double-page spread featuring a photo of a pretty naked woman crammed inside a chicken coop. He looked at the panty in shock after taking his eyes with difficulty off the catchy magazine photo. Who left those here? The cell's previous owner. Did that pervert Victor leave girls here? Did he do anything bad to them? Didn't he say it was meant for uncastrated men? Michael had many questions, but the most pressing one was whether this panty was new or used. They looked very clean. He couldn't help but try to take a sniff. Ah, I am sorry for interrupting, someone shrieked. It was a little girl in maid clothes. She had just come here to oil the door and happened to witness the very disturbing scene. I will be back later. She quickly began to retreat. Wait, he yelled. What? The lowly stepped back fearfully, putting her hand behind her back to grab her standard-issue self-protection weapon. She had been training relentlessly for the last few days, and she was not afraid to use it. Just a question. Do you know where is Gloria? He asked, trying to act as friendly as possible. Gloria, the lowly asked, relaxing a bit. Who is Gloria? Gloria Flick, the short pretty reporter, the one with the big boobs, he asked. As the little girl nodded her cute eyebrows. Ah, that disgusting snooping insect. She was handed to the police. According to Aunt Hilda, she will be spending a long time behind bars after breaking her bond. The lowly said as she walked out, leaving Michael who could only sigh. Poor Gloria, he must find a way to help her. Those boobs of hers are a treasure for all humanity. They should never be locked up. Ellipsis. Leaving the basement, Vanessa and Mona warily followed Victor through the luxurious mansion while trying hard not to comment on the little maids who bowed politely as Victor walked past them without forgetting to pat their heads. Pervert. Those were Mona's thoughts as they reached the study, where Victor opened the door and gestured for them to walk in before him. There, inside, Mina and Mana were waiting nervously, sitting on a couch waiting with an older woman. They stood up as soon as Vanessa and Mona entered the room. They wanted to say something, but before they could, Vanessa was in front of them in a split second, pulling them into a tight hug. She could tell, those two were definitely her missing daughters.